Greetings, everyone out there in internet land. Hello, this is The Line. You have tuned into the Sunday show After Dark. I am Eric from the channel Skeptalk and the Scoundrels, and next to me is Forrest Valkai. How you doing, Forrest?
Hey, I'm all right. It's been I'm dying apparently. I'm okay. Starting off
I feel ya.
terribly by choking on my own tongue. It's been a week. Yeah, man. It's been the first week of classes. It's been just a stressful time, a lot of traveling, a lot of studying, a lot of work, but I'm very excited to be back here where I can just do what I love the most and talk about science and religion and nonsense to millions of strangers.
Yeah, that's living the life, right? I'm kind of the same way. Like the last couple weeks has been pretty crazy. For those of you who didn't know, Forrest and I were at BajaCon just 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
Where we were hanging out with other folks from the line and a bunch of other figures in the community and just a bunch of fans, and that was pretty amazing. Forrest gave an amazing a presentation, the five symphony movements of life on Earth, which was amazing. Erica Guts Gibbon was there. She gave a nice 1 hour condensed version of the development of human life, and we had lots of other parts from other people. So yeah, we got to hang out there. We got back. Life's been busy for Forrest. I got sick, and life was still busy for me. But now we're here, and everything's good. So.
It doesn't feel like it's been just 2 weeks. It feels like that was a lifetime ago. It's crazy.
Yeah, just 2 weeks ago.
Very weird.
And I had another travel last weekend to my brother. So like I've traveled already once since that last trip, and no wonder I'm sick because I'm around people on airplanes for 2 weeks straight. Anyway, yeah, folks. So today is August 24th, 2025. Crazy how we're already a quarter of a century through this century. But yeah, this is a Sunday show after dark. This is a live call-in show. As you can see down in the title on the screen, the question is, what does believing in God get us? Which, I can see some practical utility in believing in God. I can see how it might make you feel better. But outside of just like kind of the superficial emotions, what does it get us? What does it give us? Why is our life better with it than without? So if somebody's out there, a theist, a believer, or a person who's questioning, or anybody like of that sort wants to call in, talk to us about it, give us your thoughts, and we may have some questions and, maybe want to analyze why you hold your position and all that stuff. Call on in. The number is 720-619-2288, or you can use a web link in the description. And I don't really have anything to harp on so far this week. So, Forrest, you just want to get right into calls, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always down to take calls, especially about creationism or about any kind of anti-science. If anybody out there wants to talk about evolution, sex and gender, the age of the Earth, vaccines, things like that, I'm always down for those calls too. But always, like these calls are a lot of fun.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, cool. Yeah, let's go ahead and get right into it. So we have let's see here. We dropped a couple calls. Oh no. What happened there? But it's okay. We have one person in the queue. We'll go ahead and bring this individual in. Bringing in, gotta click harder. Joe from New England. Oh, where'd he go? Hold on. Did he just drop?
It looks like he moved terminated. So.
Oh no. All right. Well, hey, we gotta wait a little bit because like our queue dropped, and then
the call screen. Yeah, the call screen on that said something about quantum effects in DNA.
Yeah.
I'm not a quantum physicist, so I don't know anything about that. I would love to have talked about something about DNA. Sounds fun, but I don't know.
Yeah. I see now. For some reason, the screening room is above the calling queue. We do have people in the queue. So, okay, cool. Let's just go ahead and bring the next individual in. We have somebody, it says auto screen. Is that somebody still being processed? I'm not familiar with this new terminology here.
It's a whole...
The calling queue means they haven't been screened yet. They go into the host queue when they've been screened.
Certainly, God, I wasn't confused by that too just then.
Although, if any of the, like, I know one of those in the call-in queue, Forrest, you'd mentioned you'd already spoken to. If you wanted to take him, you probably could just go for it. But
yeah, it's a hell of a way to start the show. But like, yeah, if you want to, it's up to you.
But we could just rip that Band-Aid off.
We also do have, we can read the show, the hosts, the shows for the rest of the week as well. That gives us a few seconds.
Yeah, go through all that.
Do that thing.
Okay, that's a good idea. It's a good idea, Forrest. So I have the schedule up here. So again, folks, this is The Line. This channel is all about call-in and interaction with the audience. And we have multiple shows throughout the week. Again, this is the Sunday show after dark. There was a Sunday show regular version just a few hours ago, hosted by me and Matt earlier today. And then throughout the rest of the week, you have Skeptalk on Monday. And tomorrow's Skeptalk will be, again, Forrest, Valkai, and our new addition to the line, which I'm really excited about, Justin from Deconstruction Zone. So that's gonna be a delightful show, I'm sure. Justin's very knowledgeable, and so is Forrest, and I think they're going to be a great team. So I can't wait to watch that. Then we have Chewed Gum on Tuesdays, and that'll be hosted by Alyssa Lube and Taylor. And then on Wednesday we have The Hang Up with Matt Dillahunty and Joven, and then that'll be at 6 p.m. Central Time. On the 28th, which is Thursday, we'll have TACIS, Transatlantic Call-In Show. That's going to be Luxander and Ben. And then finally, next Sunday, we'll have another Sunday show, and that will be Matt Dillahunty and John Gleason from Gala's Engineer, which also attended BajaCon a couple weeks ago with us. So it was a really awesome hangout with John. And then we also do have the After Dark show already scheduled for that as well. And that will be Austin Archer and Owen Morgan, another Jehovah's Witness. So that'll be also a really fun show. So that's what we got coming up for this week. Oh, and then Jimmy has some channel of his. I don't think you need to worry about it all that much. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, Jimmy has a YouTube channel called Jimmy Snow, and he's been hosting call-in shows as well. It's called Call-In It Now, and I don't know if he's still going or he just wrapped up, but it looks like they're trying to squeeze it in between the two shows on the Sunday show. And so anyway, next week on The Line. Yeah, next week will be Jimmy squeezing it in. Yeah. Wait, hold on. This is Jimmy Snow and Joven again. We'll be hosting that next week. So yeah, check those out. And hey, we got some folks yeah, go ahead.
Tomorrow I'll be on Skeptalk, but also tomorrow morning at like 9 a.m. I'll be on Joe Bon Bradley's channel streaming over there. So like,
cool.
Check that out if you're into his channel as well, or don't.
Very cool.
I'm not a cop. It's whatever.
In the biz, we call this cross-pollinating. We have a bunch of YouTube channels, and we all like, kind of like bees and flowers, So we all apes together strong, Yeah, that goes. So anyway, all right, let's go ahead and bring in a caller. So let's see here. Let's go ahead and bring in our second caller now. We have Ollie from Canada. Hello, Ollie.
Hey.
Ollie's subject here, it says he's an apostatizing theist, barely, in parentheses, would like to know how you, I guess it means us, reconciled your theism with your lack of belief.
Yes.
Can you reiterate that and kind of... Yeah, go ahead and reiterate that and explain it to us. But welcome, Ollie.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Well, first of all, hello, Forrest, Eric. I've actually been watching you guys for quite some time. And by quite some time, I mean just a couple of months, really. But your show's actually given me a lot to think about, though, to be quite frank, you know what? I'm actually not going to ramble because I don't want to waste too much of your time. There's going to be a lot of other callers. I did not expect to be here this early. But, yeah. So I'll just get right into it. Though I do have to ask before, this might get just a tad dark. I do hope that's not a problem for you guys.
I love the dark.
I might get it. Well,
I was born.
In that case, well, see, actually, I actually called in specifically for the whole Forrest attitude as well, because I've been trying to figure out which show to call in to actually talk about this, and Mainly, so as you saw, the subject was that I am indeed apostatizing. I wouldn't really call myself a theist anymore, really. But the thing is, it has led to a lot of, a lot of different issues. I would actually call myself more of an angry atheist right now. I think I'm in the angry atheist phase right now. Would you guys mind if I? It's just a very strange phase. Would you guys mind if I gave it just a bit of a backstory? Would you rather I just skip that and we just get right into the question? I'll be quite.
If you can condense it down to like 90 seconds, like I love the angry atheist phase, and because I went through that. I'm sure a lot of other folks went through that. So if you can do it in like 90 seconds, that'd be great.
I absolutely can. Well, effectively, so I've been raised in a Christian family, Catholic actually, well, it's something I've just been questioning my entire life is that I could never really reconcile what was in the Bible, specifically Genesis, with. See, I love science, specifically biology and astrophysics, and those two don't really work with the Bible, and so I've asked questions around to my mother and my grandmother, all things, and really just got into very heated arguments with them. And the thing is, I'm now 28, and I am now in that phase where I'm effectively back to having those arguments with them with a much more, I want to say rational mind, and let's just say it's extremely abrasive. That's about the gist of it. For the most part, it's effectively because it's led to, like I said, a lot of questions. For one, I don't really adhere to anything the Bible really says. I'm not going to go into too much detail again, but really the biggest issue here is that I'm now at a stage where I constantly have to tell myself that I do not believe anymore because, like I said, there's just no evidence for me. But at the same time, the way I've been raised and with everyone around me believing, I have this conflict where part of me is wondering if if I am wrong, I am going to suffer for this. And that's what pisses me off, pardon my language there, but that is what's absolutely killing me in this because, everyone loves to tell you that, yeah, exactly. And the biggest thing with that is, as I said, it's going to get a bit dark. I've actually been suicidal since I've been 13. And the one thing that was keeping me from doing that was that fear of God. And I'm not saying that I'm going to be doing that, but my point is I'm no longer afraid of that. But then at the same time, I don't really hate myself the same way because I know that I'm in control of my own life, and that's effectively, So it's now there's now that side of me with the other side that's just effectively if I am wrong about this, and it's just causing a lot of issues in my own personal family as well. Like my family's already canceled, but
it sounds like you're dealing with a really toxic mixture of Pascal's wager and maybe a few issues of psychology and maybe a few issues of philosophy all blending together to make you just feel really uniquely and weirdly shitty at this moment. Is that kind of what I'm getting?
Correct. And my family isn't really helping because since I came out, I guess you could say, as an atheist, my life has actually been much better. And the biggest argument, the three arguments that I've heard, my family and certain people tell me, the first one being that, well, you didn't believe enough, so God was keeping you in that stage. Right. And now that you don't believe anymore, he's like, well, I'm just going to throw you a bone for you to understand that you should come back to me. That was the first one. I absolutely hated that.
So the big thing is, I would just encourage you to remember, number one, first and foremost, the most important thing, which I know this isn't your point, but it is the point in all of this, is that if you are actually, I don't know what they have in Canada, but here in the United States, we have the number 988 that we can call as a national suicide prevention hotline. I encourage you to find whatever you have up there in Canada. It's probably better than what we have here in the US, and have that on your phone and have that ready to go just in case. Because I'm not saying I'm not saying you will. And I'm just saying you need to have that ready because you are better here. The world is better with you here. So that's most important, number one. I'm sure you're about to say, I assure you I figured that out, and that's great. I really appreciate you telling me that you... Sorry, well, go ahead.
Sorry, I really didn't mean to interrupt you. It's just, no, it's really not much better. Trust me, I've called them quite a few times. They did manage to save my life once, but that's because they didn't answer. And I figured, if they don't care, then who the fuck will? And that was a really shitty time. But that's neither here nor there.
Call again. And like I hear you. I'm not trying to rile you up or get anything out of you at this moment. I want to remind you, because I feel like it's really important that we don't just breeze past that. I just want to remind you that I want you here. Our members, all the viewers on this channel want you here. Like the world is better with you here, and so I want you to stick around. So I don't care if you end up disagreeing with me. I want you here. The second thing, and so
Yeah.
I'll allow me to be a selfish asshole and tell you to fucking do this for me.
By all means.
But there's that. And then the second thing is, I feel like combining that with this Pascal's wager situation, it's important to remember that I feel like there's some bleed over here. Pascal's wager sucks for a lot of reasons, not the least of which being that you can apply it to literally any other god forever, and it means exactly the same nothing. Also, if there is this great, all-important, all-powerful God, and you're just relieving out of potential necessity, you really think that this God that knows you and your mind and your heart is going to allow you to pull the wool over its eyes? Also, this God that, as you're talking about, you don't believe enough, and so it's going to fuck with you. What an asshole. So, there's a lot there. And I think if you're already in this angry atheist phase, I don't think there's anything wrong with drawing a little bit of righteous indignation here to say, hey, I am fucking hurting. I am suffering. I'm scared about suffering in the afterlife. But the fact of the matter is, I am already suffering here in this life. I'm dealing with so much pain and anxiety and stress that is causing repeated suicidal ideation. If this God is in control, it's not something I want to be aligned with. Instead, I'm going to go align myself with a psychotherapist who can make sure that I get the help that I deserve. That's what I would do. But that's just me.
Sorry. Were you going to continue? Sorry, I don't want to interrupt you.
No, that's just the immediate vibes off the very front half of this call.
Yeah.
Well, and I very much appreciate all of that. And yes, sorry, Eric, please, by all means. Sorry.
No worries. I didn't want to interrupt you there. And yeah, I'm in alignment with Forrest on basically everything he said there. Because I deconverted about the same time you did. I deconverted when I was like 26ish, 27ish. It was a kind of a long, drawn out 1 year process. But I went through my phases of being very confused because I had a religion that was basically shoved down my throat ever since I was born. Things weren't lining up. I wasn't getting the results I was promised. I was seeing things like hypocrisy in the congregation, and I was seeing other just things didn't feel right. And because I was raised, you said you were raised as a Catholic, and that has this whole host of problems along with it. And I really feel for you. I was raised as a Jehovah's Witness. So, we had no higher education, no critical thinking, no logic, no philosophy, no psychiatry or counseling. My toolbox to deal with what I was going through was basically empty. And that put me in a position of being very confused, being angry at times. The only tool I had pretty much was just emotion and intuition. Like, this doesn't feel right. But I couldn't go like, okay, I'm going to go logically analyze this, or I'm going to go talk about, do testing and think about falsification and how to confirm things and how to remove my biases. Like, none of that was in my head. And it was a process. I had to feel through it. And you can even argue that I became an atheist for bad reasons. I didn't have logic and reason and all that on my side because, like I said, my toolbox was empty. How do you work with what you have never given in your entire life? And then after that, I kept on going. After I deconverted and I was calling myself an atheist, then I kept on going. I started learning things about, I went back to university. I took logic classes, philosophy, all the stuff I mentioned. And then I built up a tool set that I can then look back on my path and go, okay, have I gone wrong anywhere? Do I need to reevaluate anything? And after 15 years now, I'm now 43. I feel like I'm in a very good position, very justified. I'm very content. I'm very secure in my belief or my non-belief. I'm not angry anymore. I have a passion talking about it. I think is really interesting. But I look back where I was and how I started and where I am now, and I'm in a much better position now. And if you keep on doing what you're doing, I think you'll eventually hit that as well. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to go through phases of uncertainty. This is not like a performance that you got to be perfect at throughout. Make your mistakes, feel your feelings, but keep on moving forward a little bit every day. Do a little bit of study, a little bit of reading, a little bit of self-reflection, rinse and repeat, talk to people. And don't worry about where you're at now or how you're feeling now. Just know that eventually it'll smooth itself out and you'll be in an even better place in the future. So that's kind of my first point. And then my second point, I don't want to like overwhelm you with it, but your conversations with your parents, that can be very, from their point of view, it can be very shocking that, you know, they think they, you know, quote unquote raised you right. And then you go ahead and, you know, quote unquote rebel against them and against God. And now they're probably in a very confused state about it. And I don't know what the dynamic is between your parents or anything like that. But one thing that I did when I left, I was like, so wanted to talk about it. That was easy to go into other conversations, not quite appreciating what other people would feel me going to them. Because I feel like, oh, I have logic and reason and I'm right. Like I got to go tell other people. And from their point of view, that's not quite how they're seeing it. They're seeing it as, okay, they think something's wrong. So when it comes to conversation with parents or with friends or anybody who are currently believers, just try to keep that in mind. It's good to talk to them about it. It's good to, you know, trade ideas and such. But if it feels like, and like I said, I don't know your relationship with your parents or anything like that, but if your relationship with your parents is something you value, relationship with your religious friends is something you value, be careful with those conversations at first until you're more established in where you're at. I'm kind of more, you know, less angry, more calm, because that would help you, you know, have better conversations, but also maintain relationships you want to maintain. That's kind of my second piece of advice there. But anyway, go ahead and give us your reflections on that. And
okay. Well, for starters, to answer your question, my relationship with, so I love my mother to death. I absolutely despise my father, so that's quite literally just two sides of and I actually also have an older sister who's just very much into religion as well. And I actually had to ask her just before we had that conversation if she would still love me if I told her I was an atheist, because through the studies that I guess I can't really call them studies, but we'll go with studies just for the sake of argument here. Like the studies that I've done about the Bible and, you know, the different, granted, just videos here and there, but like I did read a few things here and there. I ended up realizing that I absolutely just despised the book that, you know, was just by the side of my bed for the longest time. In the same conversations, I ended up learning that both my mother and my sister do not believe in evolution. And I was like, well, that's not really a matter of belief so much as it's, you know, there's evidence, you can't really, neither here nor there. But specifically with my mother, the reason I really wanted to, again, get into this call with you guys is because, you know, the subject, what does believing in God get us? And again, my mother, like I said, despite being, you know, who she is in terms of religion, she's also a woman who's gone through quite a bit because of my father. I'm, again, not going to go, you know, big. But, sorry, are you having trouble hearing me? I think someone just said in chat that they're having a bit of trouble hearing me. Can you guys hear me
fine.
Fine?
I hear you fine.
Just making sure.
My advice is just ignore the chat.
Understood. My apologies. What was I? But yeah, no. And she's been through a lot, and it's actually, you know, her belief in God that kept her going and kept her motivated. And she's actually, you know, doing much better now. She's building a business with her friend. It's going rather well, and it's thanks to that belief. On the other hand, as I said, you know, I've been going through what I've been going through in my life, and I had this crippling fear because of my belief. And now that belief is gone, I feel like there's nothing really holding me back. But at the same time, I don't want to do it anymore because it doesn't feel like someone's just puppeteering my life and just, you know, deciding. Because my biggest issue was, am I really that bad a person that you're keeping me in this state, both mentally and physically, you know, like around, like socially, just where I am, because I must have done something, and it made me really absolutely despise this quote unquote God that, you know, just had control over my life. And now that he's gone, I don't have that looming cloud over me. So whilst there's nothing holding me back from doing that, there's also, you know, nothing really pushing me towards that anymore. But I also feel like I somewhat lost something, which was that hope that things would quote unquote, well, not quote unquote, I need to stop saying that. Sorry, I'm very, very nervous right now. I think you can tell.
You're fine. You're fine, man. Keep going.
But I appreciate it.
If you're nervous talking to us, we're doing something wrong.
No, actually, see, I'm definitely coming down. Don't worry. And the call screener very much helped as well. I would really like to thank her as well, or them actually, since I don't know their preferred pronouns. But as I was saying, what was I saying? What I was speaking.
You were talking about coming down from your emotional state before you deconverted to now. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, and so like since I don't, and I used to pray, and I was hoping that things would get better. And as I said, since I became an atheist, things have gotten better, and people have given me all sorts of excuses. The main one being, he wants you to come back to him. That's why he's throwing you a bone. Which, fuck no, pardon my language. No. No. And at the same time, I feel like I lost that extra hope, that purpose. So my mother always thought that I was going to be eventually a pastor and maybe a minister. She's been connecting me to pastors here and there. It's a long story, and she insists that I go to church, whilst I just never liked going to church. And so, yeah, I guess what does believing in God really get us is I honestly really don't, because on one side I definitely did lose something. I did lose that extra hope that I had, but looking back, it really wasn't doing anything at all. And on top of it, it got better without that, which to me is even more, well, not really evidence of the personal, experience, but I guess I'll just call it evidence for me, but like it's more evidence that there's really just no reason to sit down and pray to some weird entity in the sky when I can just get up and do things. That's quite literally it. And tomorrow I'm going to be going to a new job, and at the same time I've had several new offers, and my life is just getting so much better. And it's just this whole like, he wants you to come back to him. And the thing is, they just hammer that into your head, and you start believing that, well, not really believing, but you start to really ask yourself, am I doing something wrong? And at the same time, I don't want my mother to keep believing in a God that I personally consider to be completely evil right now. But at the same time, I see where it got her. And now I just have to, I like I said, I never want her to just stop believing, because I know it's going to take something away from her. And I'm terrified of doing that to her. Mm-hmm.
I've used this analogy before, or this metaphor before. That's an analogy. So you're fresh out of your theism. Emotions are still high. You're still sorting out a lot of stuff. Mm-hmm. Nothing wrong with that. You should give yourself ample time to sort through that. Whether it takes a few months or a few years, I can't tell you. It's up to you. But whenever you get on an airplane, like those the pamphlets on the airplane to talk about like what happens during an emergency. Do you ever look at those?
I always do.
Okay, yeah, I do too, because I'm bored. But when the plane depressurizes and the masks fall from the ceiling, let's say you're traveling with a child, what does the pamphlet tell you to do? Like, what's the order that you?
Sorry. You have to put the mask over yourself first before trying to help someone else.
Yeah, exactly. So, because if you're spiraling, you're in a bad state, you're not going to be able to help others. And it is your goal. And in a few months, you might feel different, because, you might be like, okay, I don't want this to like jeopardize my relationship with my mom or things like that. And that's up to you whether to decide that or not. But at this point, those masks have just fallen from the ceiling. Wow. Where'd that come from? But anyway, what I'm saying is basically like, take your time and help yourself first. Don't focus on what other people think. It's fine to have an occasional conversation, but don't force the matter. I say, focus on yourself first. Get yourself stabilized first and on your feet first. And then at that point, you can go, okay, what do I want to do? Do I really want to talk with my parents and family about this? Do I want to, perhaps say, hey, you have a more live and let live mentality. I don't want to try to, quote unquote, save them. Because your perspective in a few months might be very different than you are now. And if you're in an emotional state now, then you may be making choices now that you might later on regret. But anyway, just like that, like it says on the mask on the airplane, handle yourself first. There's plenty of time. You're 28. You're young. You got so much time ahead of you. Take your time. Be easy on yourself, and take it one step at a time. Don't worry about what to do on step 10 when you're still on step 2.
Yeah.
That's actually my problem. But I actually do appreciate that. That really did help, surprisingly. I mean, you would think that would be obvious, but I guess it's just you know, like when you're in, you really can't tell how big the lake is when you're drowning in it, right?
Yeah,
it's kind of just
exactly. And usually the largest source of pressure in these types of things is coming from ourselves. Like the pressure is self-generated. because like I said, your brain's going a mile a minute sometimes, probably because you're processing so many new things. I mean, I did the same exact thing. I went from being very secure in that I was doing God's will. I was going to live forever on a paradise earth. I was going to see dead loved ones again. I was very secure in all that. And when it all came crashing down, now it was like, what is going on? My worldview got shattered. And it threw me into a tizzy, and it took me months, if not years, to kind of like really sort out and become really comfortable with. So yeah, just give yourself time, and you'll be fine. You sound like you're already on a good path, and you're thinking for yourself, and you're exercising self-awareness, and I think you're doing fine. Yeah, just take your time, keep going.
That was actually the second point. You actually just managed to touch on that without me really mentioning it. But it was the loved ones part. If you don't mind me getting into that real quick before leaving, because I really don't want to take the line too long.
No worries.
But
go ahead.
I appreciate that. Thank you. So I had an uncle who unfortunately passed away when I was 8. He and I used to be. He was the father that my father just wasn't, and I really missed him. I still to some degree cry about. Sorry, I really do apologize if I do tear up a tad. It's just I know it's pathetic.
You're fine.
But it is what it is. And I really.
No, I said you're fine. Don't worry about anything. Feel free to just tell us.
Having an emotion. That's okay to have emotions. Yes,
it's okay. Yeah.
Tell that to my father. But yeah, he, like I said, he was the father that I just that my father just wasn't in that sense, like emotionally, and he died way too soon. But I still remember him like it was yesterday. And the thing is, ever since he passed, I just thought to myself, he's up there. He's he's looking at me and saying, "Hey, buddy, you got this. You'll be fine." And ever since I stopped believing, that's just not there anymore. So the idea that I'm gonna see him again, or the idea that I'm just never gonna see him again, and it's just he's not there, and he's just not there anymore. Like that, reconciling that with it's just a lot to process, like on the spot. And I guess I really just wanted to talk to you guys about that, because like I said, I've heard a lot of like Forrest's backstory as well, like both of yours, specifically Forrest as well. I've actually identified with a decent amount of that as well. And you're always smiling, and you say you never had a bad day, and I don't know, I kind of want to be like that. I try to be like that around people, but there's just like a lot that's not there anymore, and I'm kind of just trying to keep myself afloat. It's just a lot. So I guess I'm just rambling. I guess I called to ramble, but that was effectively just.
Yeah. Like I said, it's absolutely okay to feel that. Sorry, Forrest, I'll say this really quick. It's absolutely okay to feel that because Ollie, religion gave you that false hope, and now you realize it's false, and it will leave you in a position where like, wow, not only am I feel embarrassed because I was just duped into something, but now the hope that it offered me is now gone. And it's okay to, like I said, to take your time in processing that. For me, a big part of deconverting was no longer thinking that God was behind all the beauty and wonders that I see in the universe. Because I'm huge into nature. I'm huge into astronomy and the cosmos and such. And I thought this was all just like hand painted by God and given to us as a gift. And I still remember my first sunset that I looked at, and I realized to myself, I was like, wow, there's nothing behind this. And that's incorrect. There's no God behind it. But as I learned through science and education, there's actually a wondrous natural process behind it. The way the universe formed and became what it is today, and how we're here, it's amazing to me. And I filled that void with truth. And you got a void in you right now. And it's going to take time for you to figure out what to fill it with. And it's okay to feel those feelings. It's okay to feel that emptiness. It's okay to all that. Just give it time. I know that's kind of the theme of my stuff with you tonight, is just give it time. But go ahead, Forrest. What were you going to say?
I was going to say something pretty similar. Like, if you can imagine, like, if you spend your whole life walking on all fours, You know what I mean? If you were just taught your whole life that that's how you do it, and then one day you are taught to stand upright, how quickly do you expect to be able to accomplish that task and do it well? If you had nerve damage or something and you have to now learn again how to use a limb, how to use an appendage, how to walk, how quickly do you expect to do that? You said you're in your 20s. This whole time you have been given this one coping mechanism, this one strategy, this one way of thinking. And now, very suddenly, you are trying to force yourself to do something entirely different and arguably significantly more complex. And you're expecting yourself to do what took you 20-something years to learn how to do today. That you've been learning the wrong thing. You've been learning this other method for 20-something years, and now today you are expecting yourself to just process this shit and just work with it. And that wouldn't be appropriate in any other circumstance. Imagine you're talking about grief over your father. You're talking about grief over your own self, about your own life, about what's going to happen to you when you die, right? You would never expect a grieving process to be something that you just power through, or something that you just deal with, or something that you just get over, or something that you just have under control from one day to the next. My dad died 13 years ago. I still grieve him from time to time. I still have those moments. My grandma died I don't remember exactly how many years ago, but I liked her a lot. But I don't remember the exact time because it wasn't as clean of a date as my dad died right before I met my wife, so I'm able to remember that. But my grandma died a half a decade or so ago, and I liked her a lot, and I still grieve her from time to time. And I'm a very practical, very rational person. These deaths were not surprises. They came really slow and arduous and dragged out, and I was intimately connected to every single step of those deaths. And so it was not a shock. And I was fully accepting of it before it happened, and when it happened, and after it happened, and it still fucking hurts. And I did all of that as an atheist, knowing that I was never going to see them again the entire time, and it still fucking hurts. So you are coming from this position where you now have this compounding interest on top of this of you've been waiting so long to see this person in some theme park someday, and now you're losing that too. It's like you're losing your dad again. It's like a second death. You need to give yourself time to process that, and time to grieve that, and time to deal with that, and then come to terms with everybody else, come to terms with yourself, come to terms with every other implication of this. Do not pile all that on yourself at once. You're going to have a fucking panic attack. Go step by step with it. Give yourself time to deal with it. It comes in waves, and it goes out, and it comes in, and it goes out, and you just fucking deal. And if you need help, reach out to places like Recovering from Religion. Call us, you're on the line. Talk to friends, talk to loved ones, find support groups. There's a million different options. By the way, I found out during this call 988 works in Canada too. You probably already know that, but I'm saying that for the people listening. But don't be afraid to ask for help, because fuck, man, life is hard enough as it is, not counting all the baggage you're carrying. You gotta have somebody to help you with that. So I feel just tremendous amount of sympathy for everything you're telling me. And I gotta tell you, you say you identify a lot with my story. I identify a lot with what you're saying now too. When you're saying that you have this expectation of yourself to be able to just cope. And as Eric was saying, put your own oxygen mask first, and you're saying that's really hard to remember. It is fucking hard to remember. Trust me, if you get good at remembering it, call back and tell me how, because I have a problem with that too. It's the most difficult thing in the world for me to every time I take an hour of time for myself for something that I enjoy, I feel awful, and I have to remind myself that it is okay and that the world is going to keep turning without me, because I'm like, I should be doing this. This is an activist thing that I could be, you know what I mean? So just give yourself the same grace and the same patience and the same time to grieve that you would expect yourself to give somebody else in this position. Because you, like Eric said, you're doing fine. You don't think you are, but you are. And you've got a long way to go, but you don't have to go that way alone. You never have, and you never will. And once you're okay with you, and once you come to terms with yourself, and once you're okay living on your own, then you can start figuring out what everybody else is all about. And then at that moment, you will realize that all those horrible things all those hard times, the times where you were, down on the ground, the times when you were being kicked while you were already hurt, the times when you thought about checking out, all of those horrible times made you who you are today. And hopefully, if you were paying attention, they made you a more caring and empathetic person so that you can go out and help other people. I find the most painful parts of our lives, the most scary parts of our lives, are the things that teach us how best to help others. And then when you understand that, if you understand that, not saying you have to adopt this philosophy, but if you come to that same ideology, then maybe you will start to say also that you've never had a bad day. That's why I do it.
Oh, I very much do hope. You know what? I'm going to get to that. Don't say hope, just try your best, right?
Yeah.
I very much appreciate you guys talking to me about this. I really thought I was going to be wasting your time, to be honest with you, but I think that's
not at all. Not at all.
You're good, Ollie. It was a great conversation, and I wish you the best of luck. Feel free to call in again. And there's also other resources you can take advantage of. You can join our Discord server. There's numerous online atheist communities that can help you with those types of things. You can find secular therapy. There's the recovering from religion.org. They offer helplines. You can talk to folks who are far better, more trained than us, because my training is exactly 0. They have much better resources, and they'll probably have much better things to tell you and ways to guide you through it. Like, you have a lot of resources available to you. Feel free to email us if you want a list, but yeah, you're doing fine, and keep going, be gentle with yourself, and take your time.
I absolutely will try. Once again, thank you very much, and honestly, you guys have a great time and have a great show. I'm likely going to be continuing to watch as well. So,
awesome.
But thank you.
So sorry to hear that.
That really did help.
All right, Ollie. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Ollie. Take care.
Thank you much. You guys have a fantastic one. Thank you. Bye.
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 All right. Well, that was a good way to start the night. Nice and
this is sweet.
Hopefully uplifting for some folks out there, and everything. And best of luck to Ollie. Sounds like he's a lot of what he says. It's kind of eerily mirroring what I went through in my 20s. Because I also had the parent dynamic where I loved one parent to death, and the other one was like, oh man, I could really do without this person in my life. So good luck, Ollie. That was a great first start to the show. This is the line, folks. Theists, call on in. We have are really full on the queue here, and I see a lot of atheists in there. I think what we'll do is I want to take in one more theist call, because atheists here are second-class citizens. Sorry, atheists, not sorry. But we'll take in one more theist call, and then we'll get to one of the atheists in the audience, or in the call screen, or the queue, whatever it's called. Words are hard. Okay, let's bring in. Where's my first theist? Let's go and bring in Jeff. Jeff, him from California. Jeff is a theist, and Jeff here has an argument that God exists, and it's the transcendental argument. Hey, Jeff.
Hi, how's it going, guys?
Doing okay.
Never had a bad day.
Cool. So pretty easy argument. Just want to see what you guys respond to it. It's really only a certain amount of atheist responses to it. And I'm not a philosophy major or anything, so I would just say knowledge, therefore God. But if you want, we can get more into it. If you know the argument, you can kind of give me your rebuttal to it.
Yeah, I've heard it a few times before.
I was gonna ask to summarize it. It is you summarized it quickly. You said knowledge, therefore God. Is this the same one that says that if we claim to know anything, then we are borrowing from the religious or the theistic worldview because you can't? It's not that one.
No, just if we have knowledge, there is God. We have knowledge, therefore God. Another one, just justification for transcendental categories. Can you?
So sorry. The way that I have heard this, and I want to make sure I'm not misremembering, or was that like, unless you know everything, you can't know anything. God knows everything, therefore all knowledge must come from God. Is it that one, or is it a different one?
No.
Okay, so it's a different. We hear so many of these, and I want to hear which one it is.
That's okay. I can give you like a really easy syllogism. So the first one would be: would you agree that concepts like truth require a mind to, be?
Are you asking me, or are you stating that as your first premise?
Yeah. It's just an easy syllogism. Do you agree that concepts require minds to exist?
No. Well, I guess it's weird because when you say concepts, I want to say yes because a concept is a thought, more or less. But like, I would also, if I'm defining terms, I might use the word concept interchangeably there. So if I'm saying like natural selection is a concept that I just made a video about, natural selection still happens as a process.
Right. But as a concept, can it exist independent of a mind thinking of it?
I guess I'm really not trying to be a dick. I'm trying to hammer down on like when you say concept, you are necessarily saying something which is being thought about, not something that is happening or something that exists. You are specifically saying, can something that is being thought about, can the process of thought happen without a mind? That's what you're saying, right?
Not necessarily have to be thought about. Like you can do like the concepts of the laws of logic, like the 3 classical laws of logic, don't necessarily need to be thought of for the universe to obey them. Would you agree with that?
Okay, I fundamentally I think I'm missing something, so I'm just gonna tentatively just say okay, but
okay.
I want to see where this goes.
Can you give an example of a? So we'll use truth because truth is really easy. We'll do truth. Can you?
Sure.
Truth requires a mind to interpret it, to state it, to verbalize it, to. Okay, a mind.
No.
Okay. Can you give me an example of how truth exists absent a mind or independent of a mind?
Yeah. See, this is where I think we're getting hung up on semantics, and I don't want to. I want to hear the rest of your argument. But like when you say truth, I am interpreting that and using that word to be more or less synonymous with like objective reality. So like the truth that the sun is there, that is a true thing. Whether or not I know it, whether or not anybody knows it, that is a true thing. That is the truth, is that the sun does exist and it is right there, right? And so like interpretation isn't necessary, a mind isn't necessary, unless again, what you're actually saying is the process of thinking about what is true and deciding what is true requires a mind, in which case totally. But like I don't think that's what you're saying. And I would
there are different types of truth.
If I'm still lost, I would encourage you to just move on to the next premise because we're going to be here for an hour, and we can elucidate this further.
That's fine. I don't rush.
I guess maybe Jeff.
No one's going to be happy. No one's going to be happy if we do.
Maybe I can put in my 2 cents on that.
So.
Maybe I can put in my 2 cents on that. I define truth as that which comports to reality. So truth, by definition, requires some proposition to be evaluated. So like truth is an attribute we assign to a proposition or a statement.
And does that require a mind to happen?
Yeah, because it prerequisite requires a mind because you need a proposition, and propositions are from the mind. So I don't say truth is something that exists like concretely.
Right? And there are different types of truth, but I think we can agree that a proposition to happen, to state something, is either true or not true. But would you agree that requires a mind?
Well, I'm trying to get to that. Yes. Since truth requires a proposition and a proposition requires a mind, then sure, I'm fine with saying that, okay, in order to have truth, to assign the attribute of truth to something, a mind must be there. But I see truth as an attribute assigned to a proposition and not something that like exists. But
okay. So next premise would be that we can get hung up on these. I don't mind. The second one is that as humans, we can't create absolute concepts. So an absolute concept would be something like truth, where it is an absolute concept that we can all tap into. We can make predications, we can do inquiries, we can come to the trueness of something, where you can create a concept of an idea in your mind, but I won't necessarily tap into that concept. I can make a concept of an idea for a book or different types of concepts. It will not be universal between all humans immediately. So premise 2 is that we can't create as independent minds a universal concept that
you're saying we cannot create.
I'm saying, do you think that we can? This is the second.
I mean, as a collective whole, no. As individuals, hell yeah.
Of course, right. So you can create your own concept right now, but I won't necessarily be able to tap into it. So like the concept of
the entire idea of the theory of mind, yes.
Okay, great. So premise 3 is if absolute concepts cannot be created by independent minds, but concepts require a mind, then how do you ground a universal concept like truth, logic, morals, the self, knowledge, any of these? How would you ground them if they require a mind?
Did you misspeak or did I mishear you? We just agreed that humans as a whole, all people at once, cannot create one absolute concept because there will always be differences between individual minds. However, individual humans, individual minds can create absolute concepts for themselves. And then the next thing you said was, if independent minds can't create absolute concepts, then how do we reconcile XYZ? And I thought we just agreed that they can't.
No. So concepts require a mind, premise 1. Premise 2, we can't create absolute concepts like truth. Premise 3 is how would you ground an absolute concept like truth? How would you ground it?
Yeah, I think back on premise 2. I think back on premise 2. I don't think Forrest and I agree that there are such a things as objective concepts or universal concepts.
So you don't think that truth is universal and absolute?
No, because if truth, like going back, sorry, Forrest.
Well, that's a truth.
You're fine.
So that's
you and I have different. You and I are going to have a different take on this because of the problems that we have with premise 1. So please, you go first, and then I'll fill in as well.
Yeah. I think so. We don't want to conflate truth with like objective reality, because like truth is, like I said, truth is the assignment that we give to a proposition, and that requires a mind, and that makes it subjective. So I don't see how you can have a universal concept or an absolute concept or an objective concept when we're talking about those things.
Just because your subjective mind can interpret something doesn't mean that your subjective mind doesn't make absolute truth statements. Truth is a universal concept that is grounding in the universe.
It's not. It's not.
Okay, that's a truth statement. That's a contradiction. You just contradicted yourself.
It's not.
No,
it's not.
Okay,
so here's the thing.
You're saying truth is not universal and not absolute?
It's not. No, hold on.
Statement? Saying it's not a truth statement is a truth statement.
Jeff, hold the fuck on. I am answering you. So here, a second ago, when we were on premise 1, I was very clear to say that it sounds like we're getting caught up on semantics, because at the end of the day, when I am using the word truth, I am referring to objective reality. Eric is not. Eric was using it in a way that sounds like it's a little bit more in line with how you're using it. But at the end of the day, what I'm trying to put out here, based on your other two premises from what I'm following here, is that we're talking about individual people's perception of what is actually true in the universe. For clarity's sake, I am going to, from now on, use the word objective reality to describe my position, and the word truth to use to describe like individual people making sense of the universe, that which comports in their mind with objective reality, the way that Eric was saying. So, truth,
when you say objective reality,
necessarily,
hold on. When you say objective reality, because this is a semantic game. When you say objective reality, are you saying it from your subjective point of view? Is your subjective reality objective reality? I don't understand.
You literally just answered your own question. Is objective reality and subjective reality the same? No, those are different things. So,
right. So what is objective reality?
I gave you an example earlier, and I'll do it again. Okay? So the universe exists outside of my mind. It exists all around me. That, as far as I can tell, is what's really going on out there. The universe existing all around me is an objective thing that has objective properties and objective things happening that have no bearing whatsoever on whether or not I know about it, see it, interpret it, comprehend it, care about it, any of that, right? And it's been that way for 13.8 billion years before I was born. There was all sorts of shit going on before I was even around to interpret it. And for trillions of years after I'm dead, there will be shit going on that I can't interpret. So that is all objective reality. whether or not I know about it, whether or not I care about it, whether or not I see it, think about it, whatever, the sun is still 93 million miles away from the Earth, sitting right there doing its thing, right? So that is an objective reality. If I look and measure the sun and take measurements of it and decide what I understand the measurement to be, if I go insane and decide that the sun isn't actually there, or that it's actually a deity, or that it's if I say that it's burning rather than going through fusion, whatever I get right or wrong about the sun, that is all my subjective experience that I am interpreting. So that was the reason why I was being very careful at the beginning to try to break these different points.
Hold on, you're going on a filibuster.
I am not going on a filibuster. I'm explaining the answer to your question.
I already understand.
So that's why
I already understand.
That's why I was so careful at the beginning to try to separate these things. And you were telling me I was getting it wrong when apparently I wasn't. So what I'm trying to get across here is that you're saying that humanity as a whole.
Are you muting me?
No, I'm repeating your statement back to you so you can tell me what I'm not understanding. Okay. You said
hold on.
that.
Hold on.
Truth requires a mind.
When there's no unit.
Hold on. Jeff, we're the host of the show. We'll talk all we want, and we'll give you your chance to talk, but let us talk first.
You said at the beginning, this premise one was that truth requires a mind. It sounds like you're using this word truth to refer to a subjective understanding of what objective reality is. Is that correct? Is that how you're using that word?
No. So truth.
Okay.
So I would classify truth as a universal concept. So a better way to put it, right? So like the laws of logic, truth. If there were no humans around, if there were no humans in your worldview, there are, thousands, billions of years, whatever. At some point, there were no humans, right? So when there were no humans, did the laws of logic, did truth exist in a non-material way in the universe? Did truth exist, or did we bring it into existence by becoming an amoeba or something?
Okay, so I think the answer is yes, because that it did exist before minds existed. I think that's the answer based on the way that you just phrased it, but I'm not sure because it sounds like you're going back now to what I said originally, which is that truth is synonymous with objective reality.
So when there were no people around and truth is immaterial, how did it exist if it requires a mind? Where was it?
It didn't require a mind. But by definition, by what I just said, it doesn't require a mind. You just asked me a question. You just asked me a question and I gave you an answer and you said, okay, so if the opposite of your answer is true, then what about this thing? That's not, I'm sorry. That's not how that works.
I'm just asking you, if it doesn't require a mind, then how is it grounded? How does truth express itself if not through a mind?
Okay. Are the laws of physics true in the way you're using the word truth? Physics.
Sure. Yes.
Okay. Before there were any minds in the universe, was physics still a thing? Or did gravity still exist before humans evolved?
The laws of logic still existed, yes.
I didn't ask about logic. I said physics. I said physics.
Sure. Well, physics comports to the laws of logic.
Sure, but I'm specifically asking about physics on purpose. So
yes, math also existed, right?
If gravity existed before there were minds around to interpret gravity, what was gravity grounded in?
Well, gravity isn't necessarily a concept; it's a force. You could be classified as a force, but a better way to say it would be like physics or mathematics. Mathematics did exist. It's logic, and I would say that it is grounded in a mind, aka an absolute mind.
I just said a second ago that I was saying the laws of physics, and you said the laws of physics and the laws of logic are all the same. They all comport with each other, and so you were using these terms interchangeably. Gravity is part of physics. So why now, when we get to this fundamental point?
Force. It could be a force. It could be classified as a force. It's not necessary.
Is there or are there not laws which describe gravity?
There probably are, yes, but it could be classified as a force.
Which is the laws of which concept. When I say the laws of physics, when I say the laws of physics,
are you talking about what are you talking about? Well, why do you?
I was
do
literally
something simple.
Jeff. I was literally explaining that when you interrupted me. When I say the laws of physics, gravity, the law of gravity, F of G is equal to negative G times M1, M2 divided by R squared, that whole thing, right? That's part of that. That's one of the laws of physics, right? It is a law in physics. And so if we understand that these concepts, mathematical or otherwise, which are foundational principles of how the entire universe works, were indeed around before humans came into existence, then that would make them objective truths. Maybe the way that we interpret them or write about them in physics books aren't quite accurate, aren't quite perfect, because we are humans trying to interpret the universe around us, right? But they do fundamentally exist whether or not we fully understand them. That's what I'm trying to get across to you.
How do you ground them? How do you justify them?
How do I justify? I can look around the universe and see them.
Okay, that's a circular argument, dude. I'm asking, how do you justify?
What do you mean by justify then?
Maybe I can step in and help here. So
yeah, please.
So Jeff, we're talking about laws of logic, laws of physics. We're talking about the objective universe, the objective reality. The way I look at it, I collectively put it all together. Also mathematics. I collectively put it all together. One of my presuppositions is that reality exists, and reality behaves with consistent, unwavering patterns. So that's a presupposition of mine. That's a starting point.
That's a
okay,
presupposition, right? And do you have to justify that?
Hold on, I'm still. So hold on,
How
Jeff.
do you
let me finish
justify
first,
that
okay?
presupposition?
I don't have to. It's a presupposition.
Great. So God did it. I don't have to justify that. We're at a
That's fine. But here's the thing, though. That's fine. You can go ahead and do that. But Jeff, hold on. Stop trying to run away from this. It's fine if you do that. It's fine if you do that.
But the problem is, okay,
I am muting.
This is why you believe the dumb shit that you believe, Jeff, because you can't fucking let somebody else explain their own position to you. Yeah. You just keep deciding what we believe.
I can tell Jeff hangs out on philosophy Discord servers. Jeff, you got to relax and calm down. We're not being adversarial here. We just want to talk, okay? A presupposition of mine is that objective reality exists. We have a universe. We have a reality. It behaves in consistent, unwavering patterns. We humans developed in this system, and then we came along and we noticed these patterns, and then we defined laws and we defined mathematics. Laws and mathematics are our invention to describe these patterns we see. In that we look at those things and go, okay, is this law true? Yes, that's from us. The law is from us. The pattern we observe is in our minds, and then we determine whether our law actually aligns, comports with the reality that we see. But you're confusing, it seems like, the map for the place. You're trying to say, like, okay, does truth exist? But it's like, no, it's dependent on our minds, because we're analyzing the things we see. We're analyzing the patterns that the universe is showing us. And it is my presupposition that the universe exists and it behaves in a consistent way. Now, if that's not your presupposition, that's fine. But you, with your God presupposition, as you were saying, you're adding something much bigger to the mix, something that can't be demonstrated. At least with my presupposition, I can show things and go, look, universe, look, patterns we can see. I can show you that my presupposition holds true in at least some cases. And if you want to presuppose God, now you're in a position of, okay, you're adding something new to the mix. And as far as I can tell, you can't demonstrate it to me. I'm going to mute you now.
Dude, when you respond to that, I have a building on that I have an issue with one thing you said, and I want to build on that.
Hold on.
Yeah, relax.
You guys have turned logic into magic. Propositions, they aren't dirt or rocks, right? They're concepts. They're meaningful. Concepts cannot exist without a mind. All you did was sneak in a mind to say I can observe it with my mind. That's all you did. You made a presupposition that your mind exists. I want you to justify that. You can't
want to justify the existence of my mind?
I can see it. But yes, dude. You snuck it in. Your presupposition is, well, it exists.
Okay, well, tell you what, you justify, Jeff, you justify the existence of your mind.
You. Don't tu quoque me.
too quoting you. I'm asking you, okay, how do I possibly justify the existence of my mind?
Can you?
This is the weirdest.
Yeah, this is so bizarre.
Can I
justify the
thing?
Like, go ahead.
Answer the question.
Forrest.
Can you justify that you have a mind?
Off the cuff? No, I don't see how I can justify the existence of my mind the same way that I can't justify to you whether I'm in. Hold on. Jeff, chill out. Yeah, that's really nice. It's nice to see why you're here. You just want to cook people or you want to have a conversation? Discord bro. Jeff, why is this important? Like, why is this important to you?
I actually can justify why I have a mind. I think I can. I was going to try it. Oh, fuck. Yes, this is literally all he had. He got a sound clip and he left. Yeah, I literally have a board full of questions and notes about where he was inconsistent, and I wanted to check where he was at because he kept switching the definition of truth. Also, the one thing that I had issue with what you said that I wanted to present to Jeff and see if he was able to grapple with it was the concept of novel, testable predictions, which is something that you can get from our position, but you cannot get from his. And like, if there are, we won't know him because he's too big of a bitch to stick around and actually address a serious conversation where he doesn't just get to shout at people. Like, good gravy, dude. That's the best you have is how do you know you have a mind? That's some fucking Sci-10 Bergenkate shit. That's awful.
Yeah.
Ugh.
That's the problem with like the transcendental argument, and when it comes to like presuppositionalism, it's like, okay, fine, we have to presuppose things. Like you ask enough why questions, you're eventually going to hit philosophical, metaphysical bedrock, and you can't ask any more whys. You have to have some starting assumptions. My starting assumption that I mentioned: reality exists. Reality behaves consistently. Two very basic presuppositions. And ones I can demonstrate in at least some cases. I can't demonstrate it universally. I can't demonstrate that reality behaves pattern-wise the same in all places. But I know in my own local area, where everyone else that I know lives, we can show that reality is consistent. It has consistent patterns. We are brains. We are meat bags with brains inside of them. We operate within reality under the same rules as reality. So when I can conceptualize things around me, when I have knowledge about things around me, I ground that in the fact that I am a brain in reality, so my brain operates with the same rules as reality. And so now I'm here and I can say, okay, that's how I ground it. I am grounded in reality that I presuppose exists. Now, I want to say that Jeff will probably hold those same beliefs. He'll probably agree that objective reality exists. He'll probably agree that reality behaves in the same exact ways that it always does and always ever will be. He probably exists that I am a meat brain, or he is a meat brain in this reality. Like, I think we'll be in alignment on all of those things. But he wants to add an additional presupposition to it, and that there is a disembodied mind outside of that, something that he can't explain, doesn't really explain anything. It's just I don't want to be strawman it or be a reductionist about it, but it's just a feel-good thing. It's like, I can't explain this ultimately, so I want to add something else that kind of soothes that discomfort. And that doesn't help us at all. Because Jeff, you have an extra presupposition in there that I'm asking you to justify, or was trying to ask you to justify. We didn't get around to it. But
no,
why are you adding that when you don't have to? Anyway,
you also contradicted yourself 30 fucking times, and I just want to know what the fuck you meant by like some very important key terms that I don't think you know the answer to or the definitions of either. You're just saying them because they make you sound like they make you feel like you sound smart. And at the end of the day, you're just babbling nonsense. If you happen to find a spine laying around anywhere on whatever Reddit board you crawled out of, please feel free to call back in. Lines are still open as far as I know. I would love to continue trying to hear you talk. But so far, I feel like I just wasted 10 minutes of the brief life that I have listening to you jerk off into a microphone. And it didn't go well for anybody.
All right, well, let's move on. So yeah, folks, I think the lines might be closed. Or just
no, fuck, I just told somebody they're still open. Well, I'm on tomorrow on a longer show. Fucking call me tomorrow then. Like, fuck.
Yeah, there you go. Call in later on, Jeff, if you want to talk to Forrest again about it. We're going to go ahead and bring in our second caller, or next caller, rather. So, Forrest, I think this is the one you were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
So, let's go ahead and bring in Orin from Israel. Orin's an atheist. And Orin, you say here that Forrest asked you to call in to discuss the Israel-Palestine conflict.
I did. Orin, if your phone's asleep, we can't hear you. It says you're calling in over the web caller, so make sure to tap your phone and wake it up.
Can you hear me now? Yeah. Sorry, can you hear me now? So, hi guys. My name is Orin. I'm calling from Israel. It's extremely late or early here now. I'm
I appreciate you staying
52
up.
years old. Yeah, I'm 52 years old. FDS. I've learned computer science and law. And I'm basically a liberal, humanitarian, Burning Man, make love not war type of modern hippie. Been working in high tech.
Not based on the email you sent me.
Yeah, we surely are about to discuss that, right?
Yep.
And I'm calling, following an email exchange I had with Forrest, in which he claimed that Israel is commencing a genocide in Palestine, for which I have pointed that he has not provided sufficient evidence or any evidence at all to support his claim.
Yep. That is what you said. And you did this, and the reason why I invited you to call in, Orin, because people say stuff all the time saying that that there's no evidence for this, and the evidence is clear on the ground. It's very easy to get a hold of. But specifically, you sent me a very long email to my website where you not only tried to say that the genocide wasn't happening, but then did some straight up just apologetics for it and explaining why it's okay that all this shit is happening, and really fucking gross. So as I promised you, we're going to go through your email. We don't have to go through every single part if you don't want to, but I'm happy to. But we're also going to talk about why this is absolutely genocide and see if we can't come to some understandings on what it means to be a good human. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm all ear. I'm all ear. I'm waiting to hear your evidence for a genocide.
Fantastic. So first things first, let's agree on the definition, because you said in your first email that it has a very clear and very specific definition, and then you didn't give it. And then the second email, you gave something close to the definition, but not quite the actual definition. So the actual definition of genocide, just so everybody's on the same page, make sure that we're all understanding here, is actions taken by a group, a government, whatever like that. Any of the following acts committed with the intent to destroy, either in whole or in part, a national, ethnic, religious, racial, whatever group of people. Actually, I think it is just those: national, ethnic, religious, or racial. I'm pretty sure are the 4 qualifications. It is any action, any of 5 specific actions taken with intent of destroying this group in whole or in part. And those 5 things are: number 1, killing members of the group, obviously. Number 2, causing severe physical or mental harm to members of the group. Number 3 is deliberately inflicting conditions upon the group, conditions of life, which are intended or calculated to bring about that group's destruction, again, either in whole or in part. Number 4, imposing measures intended to prevent births within the group. And number 5, forcefully transferring children from that group into another group. So those are the 5 things. If somebody is doing any one of or more of those 5 things with the intention of destroying a political, a national, ethnic, religious, or racial group, either in whole or in part, that is the actual definition of genocide. Israel is very clearly doing at least 3 of those things. You could argue they're doing number 4 and 5, but I think it's very obvious that they're doing number 1, 2, and 3. They're killing members of the group, they're causing severe bodily and mental harm to the group, and they are creating conditions of life meant to bring about the destruction of the group being Palestinians, right? They are very obviously doing those 3 things. Now, the issue here is that you can say that applies to any war ever. The key is the intention part, the intention of destroying the group, either in whole or in part. And in that case, we not only have the clear, commitment, the clear war crimes, lots of fucking war crimes is what I'm trying to say. Israel has committed a great many war crimes in this one particular conflict alone, and has gone far and beyond any sense of question as to whether or not they did those things on purpose, knowing they were wrong. They very clearly understand that these are against international law, very clearly understand these are crimes against humanity, crimes against innocent people, and do them anyway. We also have actual statements from Israeli officials and Israeli soldiers saying that they are doing these things with the intention of destroying Palestinians, either in whole or in part. So I could go on right away. I can dive into your email right away. But before we do, I want to make sure you understand and accept the terms that I'm laying down here. That is the definition of genocide. And this is why I am calling what's happening in genocide, because Israel is, in fact, doing some of these actions and more with the stated intention of genocide.
Okay, so I do agree to the definition, and the declared and the actual intention of the horrible, horrific conflict in Gaza is to fully destroy an well-established international terrorism organization called Hamas, which, by the way, has killed 118 American civilians in the last 3 years, including 8 recently in captivity after being tortured and butchered to death. So the intent of this horrible war is to fully eliminate or kill or destroy the Hamas terrorists.
Okay.
Unfortunately, this horrible conflict is happening in one of the most dense population area in the world, and under a gruesome Vietnam-style war tactics that conflict, sadly, horrific human price. But there is absolutely no intent whatsoever to destroy the Palestinian civilians and non-involved population whatsoever. There are definitely a way too high death toll and way too high suffering that is a consequence of this horrible conflict. But the only intention is to kill the terrorists that are that their charter is kill Israel, kill America.
So
to
here's
Israel,
the issue.
that's to America, and these are Bin Laden type. These are Bin Laden type, ISIS type, fanatic religion maniacs.
Orin, 2 major issues.
Yeah.
Number one, I don't need you to tell me why Hamas are so bad. Nobody here supports Hamas, right? That is not saying that Israel is committing genocide in Palestine, saying that Israel is committing war crimes in Gaza. Those are not pro-Hamas statements, right? The teams here are not team terrorists.
War crime and genocide is very, very different. War crime and genocide is very, very different. In wars
they
like
are. That's
Vietnam
why I said
and
them
Afghanistan and Iraq, some war crimes happens to happen. And I'm not saying that war crimes does not...
I did not interrupt you, Orin. I'm going to put you on mute. I did not interrupt you that whole time. I would appreciate it if you would give me the same courtesy that I should not be giving you based on the horrible shit you put in that email. I'm being very polite to you, more than you deserve. To be very clear, I didn't say that war crimes and genocide are the same thing. I have been very careful to separate those concepts this entire time. What I am saying to you is that the teams at play here are not team terrorism and team bomb refugee camp. That is not what we're talking about. We are talking about whether or not Israel specifically is knowingly and deliberately committing war crimes and also carrying out genocide. Specifically the second one. Are they carrying out genocide? Which the war crimes do build the case. They're not the same thing, but they absolutely do build the case. Now, I'm going to bring you back on so we can talk.
How do you demonstrate that Israel is targeting civilian population?
Did you stop talking that whole time while I was explaining myself to you?
Yeah. I was totally quiet listening to you very peacefully and quietly and asked, how do you demonstrate that Israel is targeting civilian population?
Excellent. Okay, there's a couple of ways we can do this. And I would say the big two, actually three, the big three that I would give you. Number one is actually a recent story that just came out last week from the news organizations were Plus 972. There was another one called Local Call, which I believe is a Hebrew language sister publication of that, and also The Guardian, which is a widely recognized international news publication, which found classified Israeli military database showing how many people Israeli military intelligence says that they have killed that are both Hamas fighters and also general Palestinian Islamic jihadists. So the total number that the IDF, that the Israeli military intelligence says they have killed that are Hamas fighters and jihadists and all the people you're talking about are 8,900 people. Now, this database was from May of this year. At that time, in May of this year, the death toll that was confirmed in Gaza was 53,000 people. That's not including the thousands of people that are buried under the rubble that we don't know about, meaning that death toll is all absolutely much higher than that. But the confirmed, identified people that have been killed, 53,000. And Israeli military intelligence says we've for sure killed 8.9 thousand fighters, 8.9 thousand terrorists. That's an 83% failure rate. You don't get 83% civilian mortality in a war where you're fighting with the best weapons in the world. I know they're the best weapons in the world because I'm supplying them with my tax dollars. They are the best weapons from the most advanced military in the world, and I know that you guys can do it really well. I shouldn't say you guys, forgive me, because I'm blaming you for your country, and I would hate if somebody did that to me. Forgive me. I know that the Israeli government can do better because they have done better. They have carried out extreme precision strikes in lots of cases. And yet in this case, they are so reckless that they have killed several of their own hostages, including more than one case where Israeli hostages captured by Hamas escaped and were walking down the street waving white flags, screaming in Hebrew, "We are Israeli hostages."
I'm well familiar with the tragedy,
yes.
And I don't know if you've ever been to Gaza, because I have.
You did not. Again, Orin, I did not interrupt you. So you have your hostages walking down the street, waving white flags, screaming, "Help us, we are hostages." And the IDF is so incredibly used to just shooting people with white flags that they didn't even notice and they gunned these people down. That has happened multiple times. Israeli hostages have been killed in these tunnels multiple times. You have lost far more hostages than you have saved in this country, because they are indiscriminately killing civilians. Now, that was the first thing that we talked about. I said I was going to give you different examples. That's the first one. If you'd like to respond to it, we can. And then I'm going to move on to more.
Sure. So, first, unfortunately, sitting in United States in the ivory tower and not understanding the horrible place called Gaza, the reason that Israeli soldiers are so terrifying and shooting on everyone that coming towards their way is because the Hamas terror organization is using small kids waving white flags to then being connected to a suicide bombing that kills dozens. So it's just a horrible hell type of a place to be in Gaza. Second, if you compare the amount of Viet Cong soldiers and civilians in, for example, Vietnam War, you will find a much worse ratio of civilian casualties versus military than you find in Israel Gaza. And the number that I'm familiar is more of sort of a 25,000 terrorists and 35,000 civilians, which is horrifying, but not.
Well, that's a direct contradiction to your own intelligence agency.
Okay, so your claims for a genocide is based on a publication in the newspaper Guardian?
No. That was one of the three examples I was going to give of why I am confident in saying that they're deliberately targeting civilian population.
Can I ask if you consider Vietnam War as a genocide?
It's a complete aside. It's not my point. Not my point at all. It's whataboutism.
No, your point was about military to civilian ratio of death, and I'm pointing out to Vietnam that was worse than your 80% in Gaza claim. So I'm asking you, following the same logic, do you consider the Vietnam War to be a genocide?
I also didn't say that that was the only evidence for it being genocide. That was evidence specifically to your question of why do I believe that they are targeting civilians. So that is a whataboutism to detract from the point. Second thing, just while we're here on the topic, you say that Hamas is using human shields. That's awful. So do the IDF. And we have plenty of examples of that as well, of them using human shields, including children, to protect themselves and to get in and do their operations without being shot at. So they're doing the same thing. Third, most importantly, is getting back to the point that I was getting at initially, where we were talking about different reasons why I think that they're doing these things. We also have the killing of civilians at aid distribution sites, where we have one publication from Haaretz, which is again is an Israeli publication, where they have quotes from IDF soldiers saying that yes, we don't think that there are any weapons there. We have no cases that I know of any civilians shooting back at us. We just get to shoot them if we want to. And we have reports from the Associated Press of American contractors at the same distribution sites saying the same exact things. So we have international publications from...
Are you familiar with how many hundreds of Palestinians the American contractor has killed?
Does it matter?
No, I'm saying that the reality is a vicious, hard to grasp reality of gruesome war in which the American, in the 3 weeks that the Americans were controlling the food distribution, they have killed hundreds of Palestinians because it's fucking scary to be there.
Yeah, so American contractors have also admitted to shooting Palestinians at aid distribution sites. Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
Of Palestinians because it is scary that a mob is running at you, and you are fearful for your life. And also international guys shoot the mob, and U.S. food distributors shoot the mob, and also Israeli soldiers shoot the mob.
Yes. And all of that is wrong.
I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying you've claimed for a genocide, intentional eradication of an entire population.
That's not what we're talking about. You asked me why I think
you have evidence for a genocide.
Orin, the question you asked me was how do I think that they are targeting civilians? I said I'm going to give you 3 examples of why. And that is going to help build the case that I'm making.
Targeting, not hurting as a targeting civilian.
That I am going to give the best case then for genocide. This is part of that. So this is now the second thing that I've been able to get to, and it's taken fucking years to get to it. And your best excuses so far are, well, Gaza is a very densely packed place. It's very scary. That it's horrible. The conditions there are horrible. That there's these huge mobs running at distribution sites. Why are those things the case, Orin? Why is Gaza so densely packed? Why are conditions so bad there? And why are there huge mobs of people running to food distribution sites?
It's going to be a very long conversation if you want to unpack this, because it's the root for all of this starts in World War I. But it's a very long history of a very complicated conflict, which I'm very happy to discuss, but it's going to be extremely long.
Who controls the region right now?
Right now, Israel controls the region.
Yes. Who controls how much food and mutual and humanitarian aid is getting into Gaza right now?
Well, this is slightly more complex, but generally Israel.
It's Israel, right. And who has defined the border of Gaza and says how many people are being packed into this tiny place?
That is the way. That is the territory of Gaza as it was occupied in 1967, when there were 300,000 Palestinians and an organic natural population growth that make it such a dense place. It was not dense at all 50 years ago.
Who drew the lines and decided what it is?
Nobody drew the line. These were the line of Gaza forever and ever. And this was
Let me try a different one.
the line of Gaza. This territory was conquered in the 67 war. Nobody had
Let me try to make it a little bit more simple. Who built the wall and put soldiers on that wall to defend it and make sure that it stays exactly that way?
So for many years there was no wall.
That'd be Israel.
And actually we used to go to Gaza to have in a restaurant. Then after 20 years of gruesome bus exploding in Tel Aviv, and every second day a terrorist attack coming from Gaza to Tel Aviv, we were forced to build a wall to protect us from this religious maniac, fanatics, terrorists.
So the long answer boils down to
the wall is actually protecting
Israel.
us. It's not a wall for them. It's a wall to protect us.
Right. So you built a cage, put people in that cage, do you decide, I keep saying you as your country.
Are you familiar that this cage has a border with Egypt, an Islamic Muslim country? Why are you not asking Egypt to open they have a long border with this cage. Why are they opening the door to the brother Palestinians to go into the massive, huge Egypt?
Whose soldiers are currently manning the Rafah crossing and deciding who gets to cross?
Israel is built a wall to protect us on the side of the border that is in Israel's side. There is a massive border on the Egyptian side that we have nothing to do and there is another side which is the sea.
What side of the border is the Israel side between Gaza and Egypt? I thought there would be the Palestinian side and the Egyptian
side, and all the rest is the Israeli side, and from the third side is the Mediterranean Sea.
Right. So the Palestinian side you are calling the Israeli side, and yes, your soldiers, Israeli soldiers, are the ones there deciding who doesn't get to go out into this safe haven that you claim Egypt is. And even if people were to pour out of there, and then you would have Gaza all to yourselves, that would be ethnic cleansing, then, wouldn't it?
We do not have soldiers with the Egypt border. Egypt can open its border to Palestinians any day, any time, and all of us will be so thankful if it will be willing to do so.
So now the argument is it doesn't matter that Israel is committing genocide in Gaza. The Gazans should just
Israel
leave.
Israel is not committing genocide in Gaza. I'm sorry, my friend. You are far away from meeting this very significant, serious claim.
We haven't even gotten there yet. We haven't even gotten there yet. We're still dealing with the individual horrific talking points that you're putting out, this propaganda bullshit that, well, if the Gazans don't like it, they could just go to Egypt. And why isn't Egypt helping them? Why isn't Israel helping them? If they're in so-called Israeli territory, why isn't Israel giving these people
we did our very best. We have left Gaza. We have pulled out of Gaza. We have left Gaza and told them, here is the territory. Build your own fucking country. We've even helped them to raise money so they will have money to raise their country. And what we got is, instead of people building a country, they've used all of the money, and we have left Gaza. We have left Gaza 20 years ago. We had nothing, no Israeli, no soldier, no Jew, nothing in Gaza for more than 20 years. We have left this horrible place. And we helped Palestinians to get money from Israel and internationally, so they will have the funds to build their own fucking country. And instead, they invested everything in an Islamic horrible terror.
So let's go through a couple things, and then we're going to come right back to that, because what you just said is important.
And by the way, killing Americans, they are killing like 10 Americans every fucking year.
Orin, really quick here.
I don't give half a shit. That has nothing to do with this.
Really quick here, Orin, we're getting multiple requests from the audience. If you can back off your microphone, you're clipping a lot.
Okay.
We hear you, so just...
I will try. I will try.
Thank you.
I will try.
So we're going to circle back to that, because that's important what you just said. Also, can't stress enough, I am not calling or talking to you about how many Americans are dying or how bad terrorism is. That has nothing to do with any of this, because there is no amount of terrorism that justifies genocide, period. So let's talk a little bit about this in a little bit more precise terms.
By the way, I agree. It's just that genocide is not taking place.
Okay, then quit bringing it up. Whenever I'm talking about these are things that I believe are genocidal in nature, your response being, well, they did these bad things, doesn't matter. It changes absolutely nothing. So what's here, I have a collection of quotes here for you, because the point about the whole concept of genocide is that intention part. We can sit here and talk about different situations. I didn't even get to the third thing that I was going to talk about. It's just important that we cover this first. We can talk about these different situations where it is very, very clear that the Israeli military and the Israeli government do not care about the humanity of Palestinian people and are deliberately killing Palestinians, even civilians. We can get to that in a second. We'll get back to it. What's important is intention. And what we have here are a collection of quotes back from, I believe, 2023, right after October 7th, where we see a lot of statements of that intention. Like this one from, I'm going to probably pronounce these wrong, forgive me, Yoav Gallant, the Israeli Minister of Defense, there will be no electricity, no food, no fuel. We are fighting human animals, and we will act accordingly. Now, you can interpret that in one of two ways. Either he was specifically speaking about just Hamas being human animals, which in itself is fucked up, and then also falls into the fact that he's talking about collective punishment. He's talking about collective punishment here. He's saying there will be no electricity, no food, no fuel going into this region containing 2 million people because of this terrorist organization. Or you can take it for what I think he really meant, which is that all Palestinians are human animals, and therefore we are going to cut off their food, their electricity, their fuel, and everything from this entire region of 2 million people. No matter how you interpret what he said, that is a demonstration of collective punishment. Another one. This is from Benjamin Netanyahu.
I'm as disgusted from my government as much as you are probably disgusted from your president. So
I am disgusted from my president.
I have no sympathy to Bibi Netanyahu and his disgusting government. But cherry picking comments from an official. You can cherry pick many other contradictional commentary and remarks. So you're cherry picking something that somebody said 3 years ago.
I am not cherry picking. I am pulling out specific quotes with specific intention because they are stating their intention.
There are many other quotes from the same individual that contradict this quote as well. So I'm very much disgusted by Bibi Netanyahu and his government and your Trump president and his government.
Orin, Benjamin Netanyahu and his government are the ones who are currently doing the things that I am calling genocide and you are calling not genocide. So it's important, if we're going to establish intention, that we listen to the words that they say. So I'm not cherry picking quotes. I'm going to get to the parts where they say other things in a minute. But it's important to establish that right here at the outset of this particular part of the conflict, you have Benjamin Netanyahu saying, we'll turn them into rubble. I am telling the people of Gaza, get out of there now. We are going to act everywhere with all of our force. That is at minimum a call for ethnic cleansing, at maximum a call for genocide. We also have Isaac Herzog saying it's the entire nation of Palestine that is responsible. We have here Ariel Kalner. Right now, there is one goal, Nakba. Nakba that will overshadow the Nakba of 48, Nakba and Gaza, and Nakba to anyone who dares to join. We have banners posted across several Israeli cities saying victory equals 0 residents in Gaza. We have Ben Gvir saying the only thing that needs to enter Gaza are hundreds of tons of explosive from the Air Force, not 1 ounce of humanitarian aid. We also have another statement saying that the focus is on damage, not accuracy. That one was from the Israeli army spokesperson, Daniel Hagari, I believe.
Harari.
So we have several statements from Israeli officials, from officials in this disgusting government at the time that this starts, saying we are trying to hurt as much as possible. We are not trying to be accurate. We are doing just widespread damage. Everybody get the fuck out of the way. The point here is that there are no residents left. We are only sending in explosives. There will be no aid. The whole point here is to cut off food, electricity, and fuel from all 2 million people because they are human animals. Those statements absolutely imply intent, and that is why hundreds of genocide scholars from dozens of countries around the world all agree that those statements, especially as well as many others, are signs of clear genocidal intent. Now, there are situations where those people say other things, like Benjamin Netanyahu just recently said that there is no starvation going on in Gaza whatsoever, a statement that is plainly, easily contradicted by firsthand pictures on the ground. That statement is what we call a lie. So when he's saying, no, we're doing great, we're putting in all sorts of aid, that is a statement that contradicts this. I agree. It is also horseshit that we can very easily verify as horseshit. So I'm not cherry picking here. I am building the case for the specific.
You're very much cherry picking, and this has a striking similarity to Vietnam War, where body counts and death toll was the criteria in which the U.S. government for years have presented to the U.S. People that they are winning the war is because they have a ratio of killing of like 16-1 or whatever. So they killed like hundreds of thousands of civilians because they had to have a quota of bodies of Vietnamese to win in the casualty ratio criteria that was apparently, from unknown reasons, the winning criteria for the U.S. while Vietnam. So horrible things happen during horrible wars. And so as it did in Vietnam, as it did in Iraq, as it did in Afghanistan, and as it's happening right now in Gaza. And you are definitely cherry picking.
Again, I can't stress this enough. Nobody's talking about Vietnam. And what we don't have in Vietnam is a situation. Vietnam. Yeah, I know, because it's easy for you to dodge to a more comfortable topic rather than dealing with the reality
for you
the government is
in the U.S. and take a high moral ground without having a clue of understanding of how horrible and a death threat and fanatic religious maniac terrorist head beheading group of crazy fucking people we are dealing with.
Right. And as you just agreed to a second ago, Orin, absolutely no amount of crazy people and absolutely no amount of crazy actions from those crazy people justifies genocide. So quit fucking bringing it up, because you admitted that it's a waste of time. So quit bringing it up. It's a waste of time.
Nothing justifies genocide. I definitely agree.
Great. So let's continue talking about the actual topic at hand, rather than continuing to deflect to other conflicts or how terrible it is that there are terrorists outside of your apartheid state. We're talking right now about whether or not genocide is happening. And there are plenty of reasons why we can say that it is. Number one, we talked about war crimes earlier on, and I was very clear that war crimes and genocide are not the same thing. However, the existence of these war crimes does absolutely help build the case for genocide, because they overwhelmingly show a complete disregard of civilian life in Gaza, as well as the lives of journalists and aid workers that are there to help the people of Gaza. For example, the use of white phosphorus in Gaza, which is a war crime. We can look to the attack on the World Central Kitchen, which was clearly marked vehicles that coordinated with the Israeli government, and they were actually on the route that they said they were going to, and were still shelled into oblivion. We can see these several attacks on clearly marked Doctors Without Borders caravans as well. Again, clearly marked aid workers on pre-planned routes coordinated with the government being attacked by drones and bombs. We can see the video on the medics that came out a few months ago, where the IDF said that they had no idea what happened to that medical caravan. They didn't have anything to do with that. They got bombed by accident. And then the video was leaked, the dash cam footage, showing that they deliberately followed them, boxed them in, shelled the shit out of them, and then bulldozed the ambulances into the same shallow grave that they dumped all the other bodies that they had just killed that day. We see the bombing of refugee camps. We see Israeli soldiers dressing as medical professionals, dressing up as doctors and nurses so that they can infiltrate a hospital and shoot people in their beds. That is another one that is a
You must be joking, right? You are familiar that all of the headquarters of Hamas are strategically located within hospitals?
And we can also see the burning of hospital tent compounds, where we have seen videos of people in their beds burning alive. And not to mention, all on top of this, the starvation of 2 million people, the deliberate cutting off of food aid, and the deliberate starvation of people over the past, I believe it was just a couple of months, or actually I could say so far into this conflict, we've had over 100 children and well over 200 people in total that are confirmed starved to death, died of malnutrition. So we have also the doctors going into this region, doctors from all around the world, including doctors from Israel, that are raising the alarm and saying, we are treating children with sniper bullets in their heads. We are treating children with severe burns. When we talk about the doctors in the Israeli detention centers, they have doctors who are coming out as whistleblowers, sounding the alarm, saying, we are having to amputate limbs more than I've ever had to in my entire life, because these people are shackled to the beds for so long that their arms are rotting off, and we're cutting off their fucking limbs. So we see time and time and time again, from the admission of Israeli soldiers, from the admission of Israeli doctors, from leaked video footage, from all sorts of different sources, firsthand and secondhand accounts, we see a complete disregard for human life from the IDF and from the Israeli government. Compounding that on top of the statements of Israeli officials, including your prime minister, who clearly state the point here is to hurt as many people as possible, not to be accurate. That is the definition of genocide.
Are you familiar that Hamas headquarters are all located within hospitals?
Would it justify genocide if they were?
No, there is no justified. Are you familiar that a walking distance from Gaza in Syria, 1.5 million, not 60,000, and half of them terrorists, 1.5 million people were slaughtered in the last 4 years?
Would it matter if they were?
No, I'm just giving you an example to demonstrate.
So how about you stick to things that actually matter to the conversation?
Between a real genocide and a horrible, horrific effect of
Orin,
war, which hunger is part of them. It's a horrible, horrible. Nobody wants to see anyone starve to death, let alone children. But you do realize that there are 30,000 people worldwide that die every day from hunger in Asia, in Africa, in Central America, in South America. 30,000 every fucking day. 9 million a year die from hunger worldwide. This is by
this right here.
It is horrible, but it is by no means any evidence for a genocide. Killing 1.5 million
right here is
Syrian population in 2 years is a very good demonstration of an intent for destruction, and killing 30,000 civilians in 2 years of war is a horrible consequence of war.
So here is why I asked you to call in, because this is where we get far beyond just denial of genocide and well into genocide apologetics. Because your argument here is, yes, of course 2 million people in Gaza are starving to death, but fuck, bro, people starve all the time.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying we should do our very best not to let anyone starve to death. We should do our very best to supply the necessary food to Gaza, uninvolved population, civilian properties. All I'm saying that hunger evidence is not an evidence for a genocide.
So
it is
if
horrible,
you have,
and we should do our utmost to stop this tragedy and supply food for everyone.
Not true. That's obviously not true, considering the fact that Israel has rejected every single ceasefire and violated every single ceasefire agreement that they have made with Hamas so far.
Fucking God, you're not serious.
But what's more important about it is that if you have 2 million people in a little box that you built, and then those people are starving to death, and you are the person holding the key saying, I can put in food, but I'm not going to, and then you say out loud with your own fucking mouth, our point here is to cause as much damage as possible. Not one single bit of food will enter there because these are human. That altogether, that is genocide. Now, when we get back to the point that we're actually talking about here, rather than yet another fucking whataboutism, I'm looking over your email right now, and you have several statements in here as to why this isn't genocide. And I'd like to focus on one particular because I think it really highlights. I'm happy to go over so many of them because they're all fucking horrible. But I think one in particular
I'm
is really
here. You can speak with me directly. You don't have to resort to whatever cherry picking you are about to do. I'm right here, and I'm discussing with you directly, and you can tell me whatever the fuck you want, and I will answer you.
That's literally what I was doing before you just got in a little emotional tirade there. So here we have in your email all these different reasons why this isn't genocide. And you go over all these things you call context. You say here's this population data, here's what's going on with Israeli Arabs, here's this historical context, here's Jewish displacement, democracy, all these different things. And then you get to scientific contributions. You put a whole paragraph here and it reads this. Scientific contributions. Jews comprise only 0.2% of the global population, but have won 26% of all Nobel Prizes and 46% in medicine specifically. By comparison, among 1.9 billion Muslims, only one Nobel laureate exists in these categories. Why did you include that in your justifications here as to why this is genocide?
Because the curse of fundamental religious Islam that took over all of the Islamic world and gave 22 Arabic states. None of them are a democracy. It's all due to this horrible religion called Islam that took over Islam, and this is the reason why there are no Muslim Nobel Prize winners, because they are focusing their energy on Muhammad flying on horses and kill everyone that is not a Muslim instead of fucking doing science.
And that right
there
is
the real reason for all of the killing and all of the killing and the suffering is from an unbelievably fundamental religious belief that everyone that is not Muslim should die. By the way, including yourself. You will not survive in Gaza a single day, especially after they hear that you're not believing in God. You will not have a day to survive there.
And that right there is exactly what I'm talking about, Orin, is that you accuse me in this email of being subjective and of not going in my usual logical and fact-driven stance and all these things, and that I'm just, appealing. You didn't say appealing to emotion, but that's basically the implication that I got from it. And that's the reason why I'm calling this genocide. And then, throughout the course of this email, you demonstrate the exact kind of callous fucking hatred that you just poured out right here on this call. That these people are so
Listen, my friend, I'm right here discussing with you.
I'm just going to put you on mute so a second so you can actually listen to what I'm saying rather than trying to go to the next fucking talking point that gets you out of the fucking moral bind that you yourself put yourself in. This insanity that you're pouring out here on the call. I don't like Islam either. I don't like fundamentalists either. I don't like jihadists either. I don't like terrorists either. But the fundamental point that you're giving me here is that these 2 million people in this cage that your government created are so fucking backwards and inferior that it doesn't matter. That I can't call this a genocide because they're also evil. They're also bad. I don't give a shit if every single fucking civilian in Palestine hates me and my family specifically. I don't care if every single one of them is the most evil motherfucker I've ever heard of. It doesn't justify genocide. And you've agreed to that several times, and yet you keep fucking bringing up the same talking point over and over. Well, you don't understand. These guys are so bad. You do it here in your email as well. Israel is one of the most secular countries globally and the only liberal democracy in the Middle East where freedom of speech and personal rights are protected. The liberal democracy that outlawed a fucking newspaper for saying things that they don't like. A globally recognized news publication that was publishing things that they didn't appreciate, so they outlawed it. That sounds like free speech, right? Conversely, all 22 Arab states, home to 1.9 billion people, are governed by religious laws, many of which are highly restricted, particularly regarding women's rights, LGBTQ rights. This is not a debate about whether or not the government of Palestine is good. This is not a debate about whether Islam is good. This is a debate over whether or not Israel is committing genocide in Gaza. And your response, your defense is, look how fucking awful the Palestinians are. That is why I wanted you to call in, Orin. I wanted to show just how fucking far the termites spread and just how much this kind of shit rots your fucking brain. This is not a debate over whether or not this is genocide. What you are doing here is apologetics for genocide. You are explaining why these people deserve genocide, why they need to be cleaned up with the rest of the fucking trash. That's what you're giving me here. And if you don't think that, maybe you should stop making that your entire fucking argument. I'll bring you back now just for a little bit longer because it's getting really gross really fast and we've got plenty of other callers waiting. But I'd love to hear your response as to why it's appropriate to talk about how backwards and corrupt this civilization is when we're talking about whether or not they should be ethnically cleansed. Orin, you're back on the line.
I'm saying that you're cherry picking quotes from my email that are horribly deceiving. I have no claim for superiority whatsoever.
You didn't say those things?
I'm claiming that the main reason of the conflict between most of the Islamic states and state of Israel is religious based and Islamic driven and God driven.
I thought it had more to do with people being forcibly displaced from their homes.
I'm pointing out to a fact that are surely are facts that Israel is the only secular democracy in the Middle East. This is just a fact. That 22 Arab countries, none of them are democracy. This is just a fact. That all of the Arab countries are governed by religious law. This is just a fact. There is nothing in these facts to indicate any superiority or to justify any genocide, which I repeatedly told you there is no justification whatsoever to it under any circumstance.
Then why is it your entire argument?
It's not my entire argument. We have had a verbal discussion, and you found yourself in deep water, so you resorted to cherry picking newspaper and my emails instead of talking with me directly.
No, I am pulling from specific points of evidence to build a case. It's not cherry picking to say that the words of your government and the words of your soldiers
and publication. This is your best evidence.
No, my evidence is the words.
Does it meet your scientific standards, the evidence you are providing?
The words of your government officials, the words of your military intelligence, the words of your soldiers.
A very cherry-picked quotation from some of the most radical minority members of the government. I can give you some horrible quotes from your President Trump,
who are the ones who are in charge of what's going on. So it doesn't matter if they're crazy and radical and evil. What matters is that, yes, and I'm not talking about Donald Trump because we aren't talking, that's not the point of the call. I would love it for 5 fucking whole minutes if you could try to stay on topic rather than dodging to another thing that makes you more comfortable, Orin. Because at the end of the day,
I'm not dodging whatsoever. I'm right here with you.
Okay, then quit bringing up Hamas, Trump, Vietnam, other conflicts,
Hamas
other
is the
regions,
enemy. It's going to be very problematic not to bring him up because he's the fucking enemy.
No, Hamas is the enemy of the conflict. I agree. That's the whole thing that's been stated. Why then are the vast majority of the casualties innocent civilians, mainly women and children?
It's not. It's a ratio of 2 to 1, which is very common in all modern wars worldwide.
That's not what Israeli military intelligence says. So what do you know that they don't?
Well, if you cherry pick the quote that you desire to cherry pick, then it's not what they say. If I can cherry pick my other quote, and it will be what the Israeli says. Basically,
so here's what it boils down to,
the ratio of civilians to military is very much in line with all of the ratio of all of modern conflict and wars worldwide.
So when you say I'm cherry picking, just to be clear, my cherry-picked sources are government officials, government agencies, and soldiers on the ground.
You will find direct.
And your sources are vibes and xenophobia. That's what you've given us for this entire call. You have yet to provide any counter evidence or any sources from anywhere else that back up your claims. All you've given us are vibes and xenophobia. I've given you your own government time and time again. And you're calling that cherry picking when they are the ones in charge. They are the ones making these decisions. They are the ones carrying out this conflict. They are the ones prolonging this conflict. They're the ones killing your own hostages. They are the ones doing these things, not Donald Trump, not the Vietnamese, not any of these other things. It is Benjamin Netanyahu and his cronies. That is who is at fault here. So no, it's not cherry picking to point to the people who are responsible and asking that they take responsibility. That's just being intellectually honest. And again, the whole point is that we agreed on the definition of genocide before. The linchpin in that was intention. I think that all of this evidence together more than demonstrates intention. And you, Orin, can try to cherry pick things that I've said and say this one individual thing doesn't. But at the end of the day, almost 3 years of wholesale slaughter of every single hospital and university and school and mosque being bombed into oblivion, of hospitals being raided and burned to the ground, of refugee camps being bombed, of children being shot intentionally, after years and years with just Hind Rajab being the one example we would ever need. I think it's more than obvious that this has gone well into genocide, and you have gone well into genocide apologetics. I hope that you are fucking disgusted with yourself, but I know you won't be because you're too bought in and you just fucking hung up. Free Palestine, everybody. Motherfucker didn't want to talk about Hind Rajab with me. I wonder why.
Yeah. So for the folks in the audience, Forrest ahead of time asked me, "Hey, I got somebody calling in. Do you mind if I engage with this guy in this discussion?" And I said yes, and I said I was going to stay out of the way. First of all, I'm not near as equipped to talk about this as Forrest is, but also just I want to sit back and learn. And from what I've seen so far, I am on the genocide explanation. This is actually happening. This is what we've seen with the news. It's what we've seen with the starvation. It's what we've seen with the indiscriminate bombings. And yeah, it's really difficult to deal with. Especially me. I'm not equipped to handle conversations like that. It's really, really taxing on me. I'm glad people like Forrest are around where you can handle that type of discussion for so long, because I definitely can't.
I'm real grumpy.
But, yeah.
No, I'm the same way. It takes a lot out of me, and it sucks, and I'm grumpy about it. I just fucking this isn't the only genocide happening right now. There are others.
Yeah.
This one is one that, unlike all others, is being live streamed to our phones, and
that's what's so infuriating about it. We don't get the option to talk about this very often on this channel. We mainly take these calls. That is the point of the channel, right? But this, for some reason, remains politically contentious. And there's still, a lot of back and forth where you hear the same talking points that Orin was bringing up, where it's no. You don't understand. These people are so bad. They're just so bad. That's when you hear a lot, especially when people on the left are talking about this. And it's like, oh, well, you LGBT people, go to Gaza. I don't care if they're all fucking evil. I really don't. They don't deserve to be fucking slaughtered like animals, because that's not how being a good person works. And in Orin's follow-up email, yeah, exactly. It doesn't make it right to then fucking just commit wholesale slaughter. Yeah. And in Orin's response to me, because I sent him an email and said in no uncertain terms, "Hey, fuck you, call in." I said I would happily talk to you about what it means to be a good person, and he said that I'm not qualified to teach him. Well, I encourage the audience to just compare and contrast notes here, where we've got team collective punishment is bad, team feed children, team, don't bomb refugee camps, team liberty and justice for all, and team this is, these people are so backwards and stupid and lazy and corrupt and evil. They can't win a Nobel Prize, and they don't like gay people. That's what the argument really boils down to. And it just sucks. We're up over 60,000 dead in Gaza, by the way. And those are just the confirmed cases. The numbers I gave were from that leaked report was from May. Now, in
August, we were up over 60,000 confirmed dead. That's not counting the tens of thousands of people buried under rubble at this moment. So just pay attention, y'all, and speak out whenever you can, and call your reps every single day. And the best that I have had in terms of help with the representatives is telling people that I will change my party affiliation and go knock doors for their opponents in the primary and vote against them in the primary. That one actually got me an email back. So do that. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on. We have a few callers left, and let's see here. We're a little bit past 9 p.m. Central Time. So yeah, we got 3 callers left. Let's go ahead and bring our next theist. We have Joseph in Saudi Arabia. Joseph's a theist.
Yeah.
Joseph, your comment here says doubtful Muslim, but there are some strong points that keep me in the religion that I would like to share. So, how you doing, Joseph?
I'm doing good. I hope you guys are doing great. Actually, I've watched you guys a couple of times, and I've learned a lot of things from you guys. But can I tell you guys more about me, so you guys understand my point?
As long as it's brief, like maybe try to condense it down to like maybe 90 seconds.
Yeah, sure. All right. So I'm honestly pretty young. I'm only 16. And also, excuse me if my language or accent isn't the best. English is not my first language. Thank
Your English is better than my Arabic.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, thank you guys so much. So for most of my life, Islam was shoved down my throat. And now that I'm a bit older, 16, like some stuff I really don't understand. Like, why do trans and gay people go to hell? Stuff like that. So I've done some research, right? And I'm not the biggest believer, but there are some stuff that keep me in the religion, and I'd like to see what you guys think about it.
Sure. Okay. Yeah.
Right,
that sounds really, really, really common. I know several people that were very Christian, and they had a gay friend, and they were like, "Why am I supposed to hate this person? What's going on?" You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and that's something that helped them get outside.
I know one person I know one person who explicitly told me that they started thinking, because they have numerous gay and queer friends, and the religion was basically saying, yeah, what these people are doing are wrong. They're going to be punished for it. And this person was looking at these people and going, these are some of the nicest friends that I have in my life. How can a God punish these good people? And that's what got this person thinking. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. And in Islam, people believe that men basically rule over women, right? Like, men are responsible for women. They provide for women. I'm not really, like, some stuff, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Well, should I start?
Sucks. Yeah, please, by all means, tell me what's up.
Yeah. Like, what's the first thing? What's the first thing that's keeping you in still, you think?
All right. So let's see. I've got some points here. All right. So there are some stuff that science had just found out. Now, I'm sure you guys might know or might not know, but Islam is 1,400 years old, right? The Quran came down from earth, allegedly, right, to Muhammad, who was illiterate. He was unlearned. He could not read or write. He had no form of education. And there are some stuff that, like, for example, right? Now, I'm sure you guys believe that the universe is expanding, right?
Sure.
Right.
So the evidence shows.
In the Quran, it says, we built the universe with great might, and we are certainly expanding it, right?
Right.
And yeah, there's also other points. For example,
in the Bible, it talks about in the Bible, it talks about the whole circle of the earth, and Christians point to that and say the Bible says the earth is round, therefore they knew something. And the Bible also talks about something about, like, really small things. And people call that atoms. This shit happens.
Yeah.
I'm gonna step away for 2 seconds. I'll be right back. I was gonna grab something.
Sure. And there's this other verse, Surah 21, verse 33. And it is He who created the night and the day and the sun and the moon. All heavenly bodies in an orbit are swimming. And the last one is,
Okay.
we sent down iron with its great inherent strength and its many benefits for humankind, not occurring naturally in Earth. So these points.
I'm sorry. Can you say that last? Can you say the last one more time? I'm taking notes.
All
Can
right.
you say the last one more time?
Obviously, iron is not from Earth, right? It came down. That's right.
I believe iron is created in stars, but I'm not sure if that's exclusive to stars.
Yeah, exactly. So in the Quran it says, "We sent down iron with its great inherent strength and its many benefits for humankind," meaning it's not naturally occurring in Earth.
Let me check that really quick. I know iron is created in stars. Let's see here. So basically, you're looking at scriptures in the Quran that look like they accurately describe reality and science,
Yes.
and you're basically thinking that, okay, maybe there's something here, maybe there's something I don't want to ignore.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I think even if we can operate on the assumption that iron comes exclusively from stars. So how many statements does the Quran make let me ask you this question. How many statements do you think the Quran makes about science or about objective reality?
Honestly, a lot, but I only have a few prepared right now.
That's fine. But the Quran makes a lot of statements about science or about objective reality. The Bible does that too. The Vedas, the Hindu Vedas, which are older than the Quran and the Bible, make statements about reality. Just let's for a moment pretend that there's no God behind it or anything like that. These are just people writing things, and they write down a lot. Statistically speaking, some things are going to kind of hit close to the mark, right? Like if you just, make statements. Like, for instance, I just had it here. For instance, the Vedas talk about the age of the universe, or rather one of the cycles of the universe, and it puts it at around 13.8 billion years, which is actually really close to what science says about the age of the universe. So we have a point of alignment there between what the book says and what is actually the case. But then the Vedas go off and say other things that don't line up with reality. And I think the same thing is true of the Quran, right? Because like the Quran says that, what is it? A sperm comes from a drop of water between the rib and the spine, which we know that's not true.
And the moon splitting. They say the Prophet Muhammad split the moon.
Yeah. So yeah, the moon splitting, and we don't have evidence of that occurring. So personally, when I look at this and I see, okay, yeah, there's lots of statements in these books, and some of them will just hit close to the mark. Like that's just statistics. So do you have anything that like shows like anything more at play here other than just a lot of statements were made and then all of a sudden just, a few of them just were kind of close to the truth?
Honestly, no. But the thing is, you can't really disprove that God exists, but you cannot also prove it.
Yeah. See, I'm not looking to disprove whether a God exists or not. I don't think that's the goal here. I'm of the position that things should be believed for good reason. I don't believe a lot of different things, but I don't go out to actively disprove them. I'm not out to actively disprove what the Vedas say or the Hindu gods. I'm not out there to actively disprove fairies or leprechauns. I'm agnostic and I'm neutral to believing in those things until evidence is presented to me that indicates, hey, maybe there's something going on here. And sure, there are religious texts that seem to present those things. You brought up a few of them from the Quran. I knew a few of them from the Bible. The Vedas have their own. But then I kind of look at it and go, okay, well, we have lots of statements here. Statistically speaking, you got people saying these things, and they're going to kind of hit close to home, especially when the language is really imprecise, or the language is kind of either poetic or flowery. Like your second example, how the Quran says God created the heavenly bodies orbiting swimming.
Yeah.
So yeah, orbiting sounds right, but swimming doesn't. So why are we focused on orbiting being accurate, but then we ignore that swimming is not accurate? Like if a God was really behind it and the God really wanted to convey scientific accuracy and scientific truth in a non-ambiguous way, why did this God put swimming in there rather than talking about orbiting via gravitational forces thanks to, general relativity? Like, could the God have done a lot better? I know. Go ahead.
Wouldn't you say that God could have made it simpler? Because remember that this came on shepherds, on broke, poor shepherds.
Yeah. I've heard that too with... Yeah, I heard that too, where God had to dumb it down so that people can understand. But that idea, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, you didn't quite put it that way, but this is the way I've heard it, that God had to show it this way because humans were so inferior or so dumb or so immoral or so corrupt. God had to do that. And that doesn't really explain it, because like if we're talking about God, capital G God, omnipotent, all powerful, that's a repeat, I'm sorry, all powerful, all knowing, all loving, why would the limitations of man force this God to do something? Could not this God accurately convey this to us in a way that could accommodate for the limitations of humans? I don't see how a God could be limited by that. And in fact, you and I could probably, I mean, obviously we're not as good as God, but we could look at these scriptures and go, how could we make this better? Like, how could I take this scripture? Like, for instance, like we were talking about the orbiting and swimming. Like, I could take that scripture and say, hey, you know what? Let's drop this swimming phrase. Let's just simply say, propelled by universal forces. Something more general, not swimming, because there's no water up there. There's no arms and legs on this planetary body. Like, we could improve the terminology and the verbiage used in the scripture to make it less ambiguous, more accurate, and more impressive for us today. Because I guess I'll wrap it up with this. When I look at like the plausibility of the two propositions, like, okay, is this scripture from a God, but this God was kind of handcuffed and limited by humans? Or did just humans write this? And these were humans just simply writing to the best of their ability what they currently understood at the time. And when I look at the plausibilities between the two, I am forced to say, hey, it's probably just humans writing human stuff. I don't see a God behind this, even with like the coincidence like this lining up. And yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I don't see this as good evidence. I can see, like, when I was growing up as a Christian, I was shown scriptures in the Bible that supposedly had scientific truth behind them. Like in the Bible, it says that the earth is a circle, the earth hangs upon nothing. There's like, I think some vague description of the water cycle in there. And yeah, those things can be impressive for somebody growing up in the faith or somebody being taught these things from their elders because that's what they believe. But then you look deeper and go, well, wait, hold on. There's other scientific inaccuracies in the Bible, like rabbits don't chew cud, bats are not birds. The creation story in Genesis, both versions of them, both don't line up with reality, but they also contradict each other. So I look at those other things there. I'm like, okay, I don't see this as anything compelling. It raised my eyebrow at first, but then I'm like, okay, I perform additional investigation, and I'm like, okay, I don't see anything here to really look at. Hey, Forrest, welcome back.
It's okay. I'm sure I missed something incredibly fucking cool. But
no, we were just talking about how the Quran, we were talking about how the Quran, the Bible, the Vedas have some vaguely, loosely scientifically accurate statements, but it's in a big pond of unscientific, inaccurate statements.
It happens at about the rate of random chance, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. And that was kind of my explanation. Like personally, like I look at that and I go, just statistically speaking, you're just going to have some statements hit close to home when you're making 1,000 statements. It's just going to happen, statistically speaking. It'd be more of an eyebrow raiser if none of them were close to home. Like if I had a book that made just 1,000 random statements and not a single one of them was like even close to the mark, that would probably raise my eyebrow even more than seeing a few. But that's just me. But anyway, Joseph, does what do you think about that? Like, is it at all resonating with you, or is there the concerns there? What do you think?
Honestly, I kind of agree, but I don't think this stuff is really vague. I mean, we sent down iron with its great inherent strength and its many benefits for humankind. I don't, and then you have
I think the key is like when we talk about like, and you may have touched on this. Forgive me. I was helping my wife with something, so I don't know what was going on. But like it's not even other religions. It's just lots of things. You talk about some 4,000 something, I think it was 3 or 4,000 years ago. Democritus in ancient Greece came up with the idea of atoms, just purely, just logically and philosophically. And that's, in fact, the word atom comes from his word atomos, which is his description for like what's. And so like, that's a remarkably specific thing. And if anybody worshiped Democritus, we'd be saying that was proof of their religion, right? And he's not the only one. Eratosthenes, again, I think it was a little over 2,000 years ago, Eratosthenes calculated the circumference of the Earth at 25,000 miles around, within 1% of what it actually is. And he calculated it using fucking shadows on a stick and a well. And he just did this because he was damn good at geometry and geography. And so if we worship this dude, we'd be like, this is the fucking true Messiah, right? Same thing with Aristotle came up with the idea of descent with modification and the idea of evolution thousands of years before Darwin did. And he wasn't the only one. And so I think what Eric was saying here is really important. It would be more noteworthy if a book full of claims that were big enough to become a religion, if none of them were right, that would be more interesting. But at the end of the day, a broken clock is right twice a day. Random fucking semi-literate goat herders from 2,000 years ago writing down what they think about the world. They probably got some shit that's pretty close to true. I guarantee that verse that you started with, which is the only one that I heard about how our power over the universe and the universe expanding, also, I guarantee they didn't mean that the way that it's being interpreted today. I would bet good money that they meant that like the world that they inhabit is expanding, that they're discovering new territory around them, or something similar to that. And they didn't mean the fabric of space-time is expanding at a rate that's directly proportional to the distance between two massive objects squared and all this different. None of that. None of that's happened.
That's a fucking great point. Amazing point. Thank you so much.
That's what I'm here for.
Well, good. Actually, Joseph, one more thing. I just had a thought. I just had a thought, and while Forrest was talking, I was looking it up. What I like to do when I'm talking to somebody who says, "Yeah, I think this is from a god," or "I think this is supernatural in nature," and it doesn't matter really what the claim is or the idea is. I like to ask, for a moment, let's say you're wrong, or that the God explanation is wrong. In the case of the Quran, talking about how iron was sent down from above. Let's pretend for a moment that the explanation that God inspired this scripture is wrong. What would be your next explanation for why that scripture is in there?
Could you explain that question again? I didn't really get it.
Sure.
I was saying that iron. Go ahead.
So the Quran says that iron came from above. And we're asking, okay, why is that scripture in there? What explains that scripture being there? A Muslim's going to say, well, God put that in there. Let's pretend for a second that that's wrong. That's incorrect. What's the next best explanation?
That someone just wrote it down and guessed.
That's an explanation, but I think I might have one a little bit better for you. But that is a viable second explanation. So, do you know how long we've been observing and picking up meteorites?
No, not really.
So, according to my hasty Googling, the earliest mention of meteorites is from 645 BCE. So that's 1,200 years before the Quran was written. There's some Chinese records of 5 meteorites. Do you know what meteorites are almost universally made out of?
Iron?
It's fucking iron, dude.
So now we have a third explanation on the table. So the first explanation was, well, God put that there. The second explanation was, well, just somebody wrote it down and guessed. But now the third explanation is, well, maybe the person who wrote that knew of at least one meteorite that fell from the skies over the 1,200 years of meteors falling from the skies that we have in recorded history. Maybe somebody saw a meteor or knew of somebody saw a meteor. They went and found it and they go, whoa, this is iron. It came from the sky. It must be from God. And then they went and wrote that. Like, that's another explanation.
Yeah.
And it's actually supported by evidence because we have people discovering meteorites long before the Quran was written.
Also, this is totally my own
Amazing
original
point.
idea and in no way a super chat from Deconstruction Zone. The Egyptians wrote about iron from heaven before Islam and even created weapons from it.
Yeah, they were forging weapons from that iron.
They could have plagiarized this religious teaching from another religion, the way that Christianity, plagiarized a bunch of other stuff from other religions too.
Yeah,
You guys just have amazing points. But were you guys ever religious?
I was.
Kind of
Forrest
in the
wasn't.
dumbest way possible. Yeah, in the dumbest way possible, I was.
Yeah.
No, I was a Jehovah's Witness. I was way dumber than you, Forrest.
I was a pagan. You at least had structure.
Anyway, but yeah, Joseph, I was a Jehovah's Witness, so I was kind of like a quasi-Christian cult member from birth. And then Forrest had a pagan upbringing. So yeah, we got some religion in our background.
How did you get over the fear of hell? Because I'm told if I do anything wrong and I don't repent, it's done. I'm going to hell forever. How do you guys get over that when leaving religion, and your families too?
I learned that all the cool people were going to hell. I
gotta go hang out with Einstein. That'd be pretty awesome.
Yeah, but if heaven is what I'm told it is, it's much scarier than what hell is as a threat. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, but
eternal happiness. Everyone is Saul.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but Joseph, we're not trying to make fun of the question or joke at it. But you actually might be choosing the wrong two people to talk to about it, because Jehovah's Witnesses don't have a hellfire doctrine. And Forrest was raised as a pagan, so neither of us have that in our background. What you may want to do is you may want to call back up tomorrow when Forrest is back, but also with Justin from Deconstruction Zone, and he's a former Christian, and I'm pretty sure he had hellfire in his theological upbringing. You may want to call back and talk to him about that.
You can also call Recovering from Religion as well, which is an organization here in the States that helps with specifically that fear. They have a bunch of counselors and whatnot that help people free themselves from religion. And let me tell you, the fear of hell, it's a very common concern they get.
Yeah. It's a thing that religion, one of the reasons why religion is so powerful in the world and why it dominates people's lives and thoughts so much is because religion has developed itself in a way that it takes advantage and hijacks human fears, human insecurities, human doubt and worry, and just our general discomfort at being ignorant about things. Religion has developed over the centuries, over the millennia, to exploit these insecurities in humans. And part of that is, proposing this eternal suffering if you step out of line. And there's have you heard of Pascal's wager? This is kind of something mostly in Christianity, but I've heard of other religions using it as well. Have you ever heard of the concept of Pascal's wager?
No.
The whole proposition of Pascal's wager is, by believing, you potentially have infinite reward and minimal downsides to it. But by not believing in the religion, you're risking eternal punishment for very, very little gain. And the problem with that is, and that's what most religions use in order to, kind of manipulate their followers into continuing to believe despite doubts, despite the things not lining up, like you've observed in your religion. It's a thought-stopping technique by them to get you to stop questioning and fall back into line. And the thing with that is, Pascal's wager presupposes a deity which actually cares and wants to punish you for not believing. And that's a huge assumption. Like if a deity has any sense of justice like we do, and if a deity is secure and is not like a super jealous god or anything like that, why would that deity at all care whether you believe or not? If that deity was honest, if that deity was just, all that deity would care about is, hey, is Eric coming to his conclusions honestly? Is Forrest coming to his conclusions honestly? Is Joseph coming to his conclusions honestly? Because me being an honest, just, secure God, secure in my godhood God, I'm not going to care what they think as long as their process is honest and true to themselves. And so you can think of it that way. If your God wants to punish you for honestly coming to a conclusion, even if the conclusion was wrong, if you honestly came to it with thoughtfulness and with care, and that God wants to punish you anyway, then that's not a just God. That's not a God I want to follow. And that's a question you have to ask for yourself. Like, is this a good reason to believe? And if the God is really just, perhaps what I'm being told by all the humans around me is false, and that God actually has different plans.
I strongly agree. I was actually talking to my friend about this. In the Quran, if you become a disbeliever, then you'll go to hell forever. But if you don't, also the idea of heaven, I feel like religion is a coping mechanism made by man to cope. Like, hey, there has to be a reason I'm here. There has to be, and I have to do good. And if I do good, I'll be in gold, and I can do whatever I want for millions and billions of years.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty much in alignment on that. I think people use religion for all kinds of reasons, and I think coping with harsh realities is one of them. I think there's probably other people who use religion to exploit others. There's other people who go into it because of the community. All kinds of different reasons, but I think that's part of the reason. Yeah, it's just coping mechanism for the most part. I don't want to call it a crutch because that's kind of demeaning. But it. I mean, if you care about feeling good, then what do you want to go after? Do you want to go after harsh truths, or you want to go after a story that kind of gives you some comfort, even if it's false? You know, it's like, yeah, all kinds of people do it for different reasons. And my advice to you is keep thinking about these things, keep questioning, keep asking yourself, okay, and try to use that exercise that I said earlier. You know, like when you're facing a question and the answer is God, for a moment, pretend that, hey, maybe the God explanation is wrong. What's my next explanation after that? See if you can come up with something better, more plausible, more grounded in reality and in the things we know to exist, rather than, you know, the supernatural, which we can't confirm exists. And just generally use that pattern as you approach reality, and you see where you go.
Wait, how did you, when you left religion, how was your family, like, how was the reaction of your family and friends?
Yeah.
Because my parents are very, very religious.
Yeah.
I'm getting kicked out of the house if I, you know, leave this religion.
I grew up in a similar situation. Each family's different. Some families might follow the rules of their religion and kick you out. Others might not. But the way I handled it, and you're 16, so you're still really young. You're still likely dependent on your parents. My advice is keep internally thinking about this. Keep doing your study. As long as you're dependent on your parents, don't share these details with them. Listen and observe. Talk to them about things. But if you feel like you're at some type of threat, like you feel like you're going to get cut off, or your life will be in danger, or you're going to be in physical bodily harm because of people in your orbit that are still believers, then don't give them that opportunity to do that to you, and keep it to yourself until you're self-sufficient, until you're in a safer situation, and then you can proceed forward. Like I said, you're 16. It can feel like, oh, wow, I need to get this going and get this over with and done, but you have a lot of time ahead of you. And it's best to play it safe as you go forward and take your steps very carefully, especially in a situation where you might be at some potential of harm. And that's just my advice. That's what I did too. Like when I left, I kept my cards close to my chest. It's an expression basically saying I kept my thoughts to myself, or I only shared my thoughts with one or two people that I could really trust. And with my family, with a lot of the friends that I had, I didn't talk about these things for quite a long time until I was more self-sufficient. I was on my feet and I was much better off. And that's me being here in the United States where, Christianity, the worst I had to deal with was shunning. If I come out as an atheist, I'm not going to have people coming after me or anything like that. I'm not sure what your situation is, but you want to be very cautious with it, because once the cat's out of the bag, once people know, then people know, and there's no taking that back. So you want to be very careful with that.
I see.
Yeah. And sorry, I don't have better answers for you, but I mean, reality is harsh and reality is the way it is. And I wish I could give you like some magic formula that you can use to get everything you want. But I guess the last thing I'll tell you is that life is full of compromises as you go forward. You're going to have two things on the table that you want, but you can't have both. Like when I was deconverting, I wanted to be an out and public atheist, but I also wanted to keep my family. And I knew that's not on the table at the same time. I have to choose one and give up the other. And that really comes down to your values, what you value more, and then making the decision that, okay, I understand that doing this is going to lock me out of this, or doing the other thing is going to lock me out of the reverse. And that's life, and that's reality. And there's nothing we can do to change that. You're going to have some hard choices ahead of you. But it sounds like you're on a really good path right now. You're asking the right questions. You're being thoughtful about it. Just like one of our callers previously, first caller of the night. You're doing great. Yeah. Keep on going, and I encourage you to keep on thinking.
I think you're doing fantastic, man. And I want to tell you, like, your concerns are so unbelievably common. Every single religious caller that we get that's deconstructing, that is what we talk about. Is, okay, here I am. How the fuck do I move forward? How do I tell my family? How do I deal with my kids? How do I deal with my job? How do I deal with my community? There's so many people who have been where you're at, and all of them are okay. You're going to be okay too.
Thank you guys so much. Could I ask one more question though?
Yeah, sure. One last one, then we got to
go. When you guys were leaving the religion, did the book still seem holy to you? Because like you were born in it, and you were like, it was shoved down your throat that the book was holy. So when you guys were leaving it, did it still seem holy for a bit?
So I don't think Forrest had a book, but I will say yes. And I've said this a few times before, that what kind of broke me out of that, because when I left religion, I still believed in God, and I still kind of believed in the Bible and respected the Bible. What broke me out of that was actually tuning in and watching Matt and the OG, the old school atheist experience crowd, ridicule religious ideas, take a religious idea and kind of unpack it and show how ridiculous it is, or show the contradictions in it, or show how immoral some of the stuff in the Bible is. Watching that broke me of that spell really quick, because once I stopped believing in the religion, it was just another step to saying, hey, you know what? There's actually some stuff in this book that's pretty heinous, like genocide, slavery, misogyny. And that's what really broke that spell for me. And once that egg started cracking, there was like really no stopping it. Because once that book's no longer holy, and once that book's no longer up on that pedestal, now you can really like examine it and like objectively examine it without fear, without having to worry about, upsetting a deity or something like that. And so that's kind of where I was at. It took some time, but I got there.
I didn't have a book per se. You're absolutely right. But I did have some books, and I did have some concepts that were very holy, for lack of a better word, very sacred. And some of them I don't care about at all anymore. And some of them have just kind of morphed. So as a pagan, I believed in magic and spells and all sorts of this old magic from East Europe that I was taught. And now I certainly don't hold any of those. I still have like my encyclopedia of magical herbs. I still have my book on divination and scrying. I still have my book of shadows, my spell book. When I was a kid, I would write all these things in there, that in fucking Nordic rune, no less, because whatever arbitrary reason that was taught to me. And I still have all that shit, and those don't mean anything. I just laugh at those. But the concepts of like the sanctity of nature and the concept of like enjoying and appreciating and feeling at one with the natural world, those have just morphed into my career as a biologist, into my appreciation as a scientist of the universe around me. And I think they make me better. Having that kind of background, I think, really improves that. And that's not unique to paganism. Like, there's a really good book that I've recommended several times on this channel called Braiding Sweetgrass, which is about a Potawatomi woman. She's a Native American who is also a PhD botanist. And she talks about her Native American spirituality informing and enhancing her understanding of the biological world, and how like her the language they use of like maintaining the personhood of this tree. You know, okay, as a concept, that's silly, right? But from a biological perspective, remembering that this thing has just as much of a right to live as you do, that's powerful. And so, yeah, I think there's still use for some of these things, and there's still a lot of things that you don't have use for and you can do away with. It's all just finding it out for yourself, boiling off the bullshit, finding what works for you.
Thank you guys so much. You have helped me so much. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Glad to hear it,
appreciate
Joseph.
it.
And good luck. Good luck and stay safe. Thinking about you. So, thanks.
Thank you so much. Yeah, bye, man.
All right. Goodbye.
Take care.
Let's see here.
I do want to say to the yeah. Oh, sorry, I came here and interrupted what was probably a great call.
No. And dude, Book of Shadows? How cool.
Yeah.
I had the Bible, and not just the Bible. I had the New World Translation, probably like the most shit tier of translations out there. Yeah. Yours sounds so much cooler than mine.
It's not. It's a bunch of shit that it's my notebook from reading over a bunch of old magic books and shit that my mom and my grandma gave me from like their time, and it's my notebook of like how to read palms and how to read leaves and how to fucking exercise spirits and shit, and it's all written in a language that nobody fucking knows. But I do want to like say there was somebody who was waiting on the line. I feel bad because they just dropped, but they were waiting on the line for like 2 hours. They were one of the earliest callers we got.
Sorry.
And their question was, is there really utility in this show? Like, is it useful to continue talking about religion to people like this? I think that call should really help, because they were an atheist and they were asking, is there a point to continuing to do shit like this? To continue, people like Joseph out there who are needing somebody to talk to because they're in a situation where they feel isolated and they feel crazy, but they're seeing the world for what it is. Yeah, that's what the show's for. That's what the show's about.
Yep.
Also, I want to shout out the person in chat. I had to go to help my wife with something. I was gone for a few minutes, and when I came back, someone in chat said that I was dropping an Orin. Very funny. Thank you very much for that.
Dropping a big fat Orin. Okay. All right. But thank you so much, whoever in chat said that. Thank you for bringing that memory back. My brain had blanked it out. Now it's back. So thanks. All right, we have one caller left, and we're going to bring him in right now, and then I'm going to step away for a moment so I can drop a Nora. No, I'm kidding. I'm going to grab some more water. Anyway, we're bringing in Nathan from Australia. Nathan's an atheist, and the comment here is a potential double standard and communication issue towards Muslims, mostly directed towards Forrest. So, hello, Nathan.
Oh, hello. Sorry, I'm a bit nervous, but yeah.
Thank you for waiting for so long. My God. Yeah, I can hear you just fine. Thank you for waiting for like 2.5 hours, dude.
All right, yeah. Yeah, definitely. Sorry if I'm a bit nervous. Like, this is uncharted territory for me, but okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to say one thing before I get onto the main point. The way you handled Joseph, I think, I was really, really impressed and happy that you handled him the way you did, because I was once in his position, and I hope everything goes well for him in the end, and I'm rooting for him.
Most definitely.
So,
most definitely.
Yeah. So
Joseph's got lots of love in this.
Basically, yeah. And so basically, so I wrote this before that happened, and the way you handled it, I will give credit. That was really that was top tier shit. Okay. All right. So to preface this, because I have written this down in a Word document, because I do tend to go in tangents and get lost a lot. So I've written this down in a bit of a script. So
that's fine.
So if it sounds like I'm like reading off of a Word document, because I quite literally am. So yeah, that's just kind of what's happening. So it's about 1,000 words, and well, like ideally, I'd just send this to you like directly to your head, so like the things don't get like lost in translation. But like since this is audio call, then I'll just kind of have to say it as much as I can. You probably might interrupt sometimes to like have questions, and I might have already answered that later on. So just yeah, like I'd prefer it if I could like lay it all down first, I guess, just to avoid any communication issues, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, if you like, it's I might chime in if I hear something particularly egregious, but just because
if it's that's definitely
1,000 words might take a minute to read. But I'll be happy. I'll do my best to listen.
Okay, thank you. That's all I ask. So to preface this, I am an ex-Muslim atheist. I hate religion, and leaving Islam was the best thing that ever happened to me. And all that. I don't like Islam. I don't like Christianity, and so I was making this call because basically I was binging a lot of the segments you have on the line, and there was one video in particular that kind of stuck out to me, and not necessarily in a good way. And I think I want to address that, and maybe like bring that up and ask some clarifications on that. So the particular video was because I'm gonna have to narrate this because like you probably don't remember this ever happening. You get like thousands of calls every day. So the particular video title was "Polar Defense the Worst Thing You Can Imagine," and if you wish, you can type that up on YouTube. See if you can verify what I say about this.
I'm gonna take a guess if that was the If it was a Muslim caller and that's the title, it was probably one of the Muslim callers who was defending pedophilia.
Yep, it was him, and I will say this: fuck that guy. So no, just so you're clear, fuck that guy. I do not like that guy at all. He's a fucking dickhead. Yeah, but to get on to my main point, starting around 35 to 36 minutes, you were basically discussing the problem of evil. At around 43 minutes and 30 seconds, Forrest asks, his name was Bob on that call, by the way. And I wrote that he was a terrible person, but I already said that. So why he thinks God is a good person if he allows rape to occur. So that's what you asked Bob. Bob deflects into the excuse that Allah had warned us about suffering and essentially tried to victim blame humanity, which is essentially a misanthropic talking point, which he had previously parroted. So just after 44 minutes, just like basically after that thing happened, you had posited a more direct question, whether it would be right to have sex with a 9-year-old girl, obviously referring to Muhammad and Aisha, essentially. And you are correct on that. If you were arguing the morality of Islam via religion, that would be a valid argument to bring up. And Bob's defense of this, of course, was extremely abhorrent. However, since you were discussing the nature of the problem of evil and the concept of God allowing evil to exist, a somewhat tangential but mostly unrelated topic, the specific concept of morality versus allowing evil to ever exist in the first place within the framework of a God most merciful. So this is where my constructive criticism comes into play. Because the way I analyze this, and I could be wrong, and if I am, let me know, I think this can be interpreted as a pivot to a mostly unrelated to the original topic at hand, which is the difference between the morality of religion and allowing evil to exist. I think these are two separate topics, mostly even if tangentially related. This could be interpreted as a bad faith move. Yes, I agree Bob was acting bad faith himself. Two wrongs don't make a right. And what is even stranger is that from your previous debates I've seen, at least, out of the ones I've seen, I haven't seen everything you've said, so maybe you've done something different. I don't know. Whenever Christian slavery is brought up when talking to a Christian caller, it's usually because the caller had already brought up the direct morality of religion. Again, I haven't watched everything, so it's possible I could be wrong on this. So my gut reaction was there, and this was a gut reaction, and it was really strong for me, and I'll get into why later. But I thought that a double standard had occurred in that situation. I would have, instead, if I was in that position, I would have pressured him on his victim blaming logic and pointed out Allah looked pleasure behind suffering and pain, which he didn't need to do. Problem of evil. Where it gets more complicated is that Muslims in the West are already on the defensive due to valid criticism of Islamic morality, of allowing something this heinous, as I mentioned before, Muhammad and Aisha, being used to paint all Muslims themselves as, and forgive me for the TikTok brain language, PDF files by far-right opportunistic bigots. The fact of the matter is, in a post-9/11 America and post-colonial Europe, especially and debatably geopolitically and globally as well, Muslims are essentially seen as second-class citizens. So culture and faith has inversely been converted in a sense of pride, in essence. And the online atheist community is somewhat downstream from the new atheist movement, which actively demonized Muslims and immigrants, and not just Islam. Even though you guys at the line seem nominally progressive and otherwise decent and inclusive people, I couldn't help, and sorry if this sounds a little weird and parasocial, but like, it's just my brain doesn't work properly sometimes. Just that, like, the way you'd acted was downstream from some subconscious otherization of Muslims. I'm not saying it's your fault, from like a broad cultural framework that effectively, like a manufacturing consent of demonization of Muslims from like media and stuff. And this stuff eventually led to the Christchurch shooting, which is also like the same logic that it feels like Orin used to justify the Gaza genocide as that had been happening. And I'm not saying this makes you a bad person. I'm not trying to shame you for that. Like, just that I'm very attuned to and hyper aware of this due to my lived experience. And maybe I'm overthinking this as some sort of trauma response. And I tend to be avoidant of places I feel are unsafe. So I'm counting something that makes me feel that way that can affect me, because I do have some trust issues and paranoia downstream from my time as a Muslim that can make me overly wary and, sensitive to this kind of thing. So yeah, that's just that sort of qualifying statement there. So yeah, as I said, Bob definitely deserved to have his ass. Sorry. You want to say something?
You're fine. Yeah. So okay, I just want to make sure I'm understanding. You're saying, just to summarize everything, that we got this call about Islam, and we were talking about the morality of the religion and the morality of the God on offer, and we pivoted to talking about pedophilia as allowed by Muhammad and the God of the Quran. And you found that was an unfair, potentially was an unfair dodge or an unfair diversion to something else that we wouldn't have necessarily done if we were talking to a Christian, where we would have stayed more on topic with this one point.
More or less. Right? More or less.
Okay.
Yeah.
And here's the issue I'm having, is that you then follow that. Number one is that if we're talking about the morality of the God of the Bible, and we bring up slavery or genocide or whatever in the Bible, it would be the same thing, especially if we're talking about the prophet of God, Jesus, and the shitty things that he said and did. So that is something that happens quite a bit, so I don't think there's a double standard. However, what I do think is important is that in that instance, you now are also saying that there's this baggage of Islamophobia and new atheist movements like Richard Dawkins and Sam Harris, who had a lot of things where it was just xenophobia and it was just Islamophobia and it was just calling out this other culture rather than the actual tenets of the religion. And you're likening us to them while not doing the same thing when we make the exact same criticisms, if not worse criticisms, of Christianity, which is more culturally accepted over here. And we're doing the exact same arguments. It sounds like you, sir, are the one that is pulling now this double standard on us, saying that we can't criticize Islam the same way that we would criticize Christianity, because that runs the risk of having an additional baggage of cultural insensitivity that Christianity enjoys not being partial to. That's what I mean.
I was actually just about to get to that, actually. And I do make some more qualifying statements, essentially. And again, I did say I haven't watched everything you do. And the stuff I have seen, when you were talking about Christian morality, it was more about the morality of Christianity and not the problem of evil. but I haven't seen everything, and it's possible I could be wrong on that. And you would know more than me. That's why I'm asking you, essentially.
The problem of evil argument often comes down, for me, when I'm talking about Christianity, the problem of evil argument often comes down to the fact that God is not only responsible for all evil, he ordains and allows and commands all evil. And so that was what we were getting at in that call as well, is that if we're talking about the God of the Quran, not only does the problem of evil exist in that there is evil in the world, he also ordains it.
And I do agree. It's tangentially related, but I will get to that in a bit. But so I will just continue because I think I do end up getting into what you said from the perspective of So Bob definitely deserved to have his ass kicked and whatever, and I do think Islam should be criticized for the record, and you would be right to do that, and I'll get to that.
Nobody disagrees with that. I prefer if you have a criticism for me, give it to me straight. Don't sugarcoat it. I don't think you're defending Islam or anything like that. Don't worry about it. I'm going to talk about exactly what you're talking about here. So what did I do that you think was wrong?
Sure. So I'll just start against that paragraph. Bob definitely deserved to have his ass kicked for what he said, and you were right to do that. Sorry. From the perspective of a Muslim viewer struggling with the morality of their faith, who is maybe already feeling like he had to defend his very identity and existence, such a pivot may easily be seen and framed as an attack on his Muslim identity due to the topically tangential nature of the pivot. You can say the exact same thing about any.
You can say the same thing about any fundamentalist or evangelical Christian who listens to the show as well.
Yeah.
In fact, I've had Christians say that to me.
Yeah. This may also.
So I'm looking for a specific thing that I did wrong in this case. Because it sounds to me like you were accusing me of having a double standard while also putting a double standard.
I'm not necessarily accusing. I just want to kind of square the circle because I want to, in fact, disprove my gut reaction, if anything.
Right. I appreciate that, and I appreciate the fact that you're giving so many caveats and couches here. But fundamentally, the idea is that you have a potential criticism for me, and I'm not thinking that you're being a shit about this. I'm not mad. You have a potential criticism of me. I want to hear it. And the criticism seems to be that I had an unfair double standard when it came to talking about Islam that I don't have when I talk about Christianity. And I don't think that I did, but I think you judging or at least weighing the gravity of my accusations against Islam more heavily than you judge my accusations against Christianity, I think that is a double standard that you're putting on me. And I think it is because of your background. You see Islam as this personal identity that I could deeply hurt somebody in a way that you don't see that about Christianity, despite the fact that we absolutely have that concern when talking about Christians.
I agree. I agree. I think, there is definitely some subconscious thing that's happening here, and that's why I probably extrapolated in some way. And that's why I kind of wanted to square the circle, essentially. And, so
what's the heart of the concern then?
There is I think that's what I was essentially trying to get to. Essentially, is that I think because of the way people can be defensive of Islam due to the material conditions that have not material conditions, but the ideological conditions around Islamophobia. I think the main concern then is, sorry if I'm getting lost because I do get sidetracked very easily, but I think my main concern is that from that argument perspective, because I think my thing operates in two levels. From that argument perspective, I think essentially that within the problem of evil, essentially, going towards the whole morality of Islam could be seen as an attack by otherwise Muslims opening to questioning the religion, as I was at one point. So what essentially has happened, sorry, I'm getting a bit muddled, is that if that person had said, look, Islam is the greatest and most moral religion, you bring that up, someone could have a problem with that, but I'd say that they'd be less justified in that sort of thing. You could more easily talk them out of it, saying, no, actually, what Forrest said was a very good point against the morality of Islam. And so, and I guess this could be a difference in the way that we categorize arguments, I guess, is that going from
what's the fundamental evil, what's the fundamental difference if we're talking about whether or not Islam is a moral religion or Christianity is a moral religion? What's the fundamental difference between me saying, here in Islam, we have pedophilia, and here in Christianity, we also have child sex slavery, we have pedophilia as well? So, like, which I brought up several times.
Yeah, absolutely nothing.
So where's the disconnect? So where's the disconnect here?
So if it turns out that you essentially said, if you in the problem of evil, said that to a Christian, essentially that, like, look, the Bible says this and that. If that, I didn't see that ever happening for me from what I've seen. If you have, then I'd make the same argument for Christianity as well. That's, again, I think that's that's what you're trying to get at.
So if the criticism then is that my argument isn't effective, can you tell me what isn't effective about saying, if this is supposedly a moral religion and yet it is chock full of heinous atrocities, then that's incongruent. That is not be a moral religion. Where's the ineffective part of that argument then?
No, the argument is fine. It's just that, like, the connection between the problem of evil and the direct morality of the religion is something that is a bit abstracted for me in some way, and is a bit more difficult for me to, like, connect.
But that is fundamentally key to that question, because if the problem of evil existing in the world is a threat against God being all good, then the evil of God's own commandments, I think, takes it one step further. That's why I make such an argument. And if you think that I'm missing something, if you think I'm missing something, and I mean this sincerely, this is not me being this is not me being dismissive. I mean this sincerely. If you think I'm missing something and you think there's a better way to argue this, you should go do that. But, like, at the end of the day,
that's what I'm trying to do now.
The criticism seems to have gone from, I was having a double standard, to, okay, no, this is the same thing about all religions, but it's not effective. And I'm sorry if you called me to tell me, hey, you don't think my argument's effective.
I wasn't sure if it was a double. I thought it was a double standard. I wasn't sure. That's why I wanted to ask. If you do the same thing for Christianity, then that's not a double standard.
Always.
It's just that, like, I was worried at the time. Yeah, I was okay. If that's the case, then there's no double standard, and I guess, like, my main concern from that is, so that's a valid retort. I do believe that. However, like, if I were to argue with some Muslims who are, like, indeed, like, essentially grappling with their faith and all that, and I wanted to make them atheists, I really do. It's just that I'm concerned that some people will see that argument, that pivot, and they will use that to say, no, this guy is Islamophobe and whatnot. And I don't believe that's the case, and that's not. But, like, it's really hard to get them out of that. And I do think that could be avoided easier, I guess.
Okay, but that's an entirely but that's an entirely different conversation, though, than the one that we were having.
Yeah, that was like. Yeah, I know, because, like, essentially I was trying to get rid of the accusation that wasn't a double standard, and it isn't, and I believe you that it's not a double standard. And if you were to do the same thing for Christianity, that is, it's just not, maybe that could be the efficacy. I think that could be a disagreement of the efficacy of the argument. Like, I guess it's just, I'd handle it a different way, I'd say. Like, instead of going straight to, like, the morality of religion, I'd just say, hey, God does allow the things he claims as evil anyway, because that's more in line with the problem of evil, I guess. It's a difference of how I'd handle it.
That's okay. Well, when you host a call-in show, you should do it that way. But at the end of the day,
I know. That's just my opinion. That's just my opinion.
If you don't think that my argument is that effective, then my response to you is okay, and like, I appreciate the input.
Like, of course. Like,
but I just felt you have a specific thing. I think there's the reason why there are so many hosts on this channel is because there is no one single argument or approach to these things, and everybody's got a different style. My style is being a little bit more direct in that way. If you don't think that's good, cool. And if you think someone's going to say that's it, if you run the risk of being Islamophobic. If you think that runs the risk of being called Islamophobic, then maybe it would be good to have a broader conversation about why we mix up the culture of Islam with the religion of Islam, with the word. That's why, personally, I like to use the word Islamophobic as opposed to the word Muslim phobic or Arab phobic, because I have no problem with Muslims or Arabs. I have a problem with Islam. And so that's the issue. I draw that distinction, and you will hear me draw that distinction on other calls.
Yeah, like I just wanted to, like, share that, because, like, I didn't really know how to contact you directly. Maybe it could have been done through that email, but, like, I do see your point there, and yeah, like of course, like I do appreciate your direct style, and like I get that like
I think
probably like a part of this is some trauma response.
it sounds like it's
sort of like
sounds like
awakened within
your
me.
main issue here. It sounds like the main issue here, and maybe it is because of a trauma response. I don't know. But I think it's something you should think about. It sounds like your main issue is that you just want me to have a softer approach with Islam than I do with Christianity. And that is a double standard that you're asking me to uphold rather than one you're accusing me.
No. That is definitely not what I want. In fact, I want you to go as hard in Islam as possible, like consciously at least. Maybe subconsciously there might be some sort of gremlins in there. But yeah, no, I want you to go as hard on Islam as possible. But I think what might end up happening is that like I want you to. I'm used to seeing like so many double standards against Islam that like I'm not sure if that same standards ever applied to like other religions like Christianity, and like maybe that thought process is somewhat corrupted in that sense.
If you want me to go as hard as possible against Islam, you should check out this one call with the title, it's like the caller defense worst thing ever, where I call Islam a religion that endorses pedophilia and shit like that. And that would be a fun one for you to watch.
Yeah. Like I don't have a problem with that. With saying that at all. It's just that like within the context of the problem of evil, it can make it difficult for someone who is trying to branch out of Islam, and like it could make them retreat into their shell, because this happened to me in personal experience. A new atheist movement, maybe a Muslim more.
Right. Yeah. You are absolutely putting your own personal experience ahead of the entire show, because that is exactly what happens whenever we get a Christian caller and I talk about how God endorses slavery and they retreat into their shell and tell me that I'm an evil atheist that's spreading lies. I get comments on my Instagram at least once a week from several accounts that just say you spread lies about the Bible. God never says anything bad in the Bible. God never talks about slavery in the Bible. And the more I talk about it, the more these people double and triple and quadruple down into their religion. So I'm sorry, this is not anything
like,
unique to Muslims.
Analytical. Yeah, I know. I have this weird analytical brain that wants to optimize the hell out of everything, and like I get and like.
Well, then I encourage you. To analyze my entire show. Then I encourage you to analyze this entire show and my entire rhetoric and all of my arguments, and you will see that they are consistent.
Yeah, again, I did say I didn't see everything. That's why I didn't say, "Oh, you are having a double standard." Just saying that could be a case, and if it's not, that's good. And now talking to you, I don't think you are. And it's just that like I'm just sharing my perspective that like the way I think. If I was in that position, it would have made it harder for me. So like, essentially, that is a bit of like I draw from my own experiences in that sense, and like, and it is a very uncomfortable topic for me as well in that sense, because like I'm just really nervous and I kind of feel bad about this. Like, because I do, because like I don't know, I kind of feel like I'm arguing with my inner child at the same time as this thing.
Well,
and
I think that sounds like something that you need
to. I don't want to.
You're not bothering me
at all,
Nathan.
Yeah, it's just
Nathan, I appreciate
kind of.
Nathan, I appreciate any time if somebody has criticism towards me. I appreciate them bringing it to me, and I'm always happy to answer it, and I'm always happy to defend where I'm going from. I appreciate you changing your opinion as we moved along. If this is a trauma response that you're dealing with, your inner child you're dealing with, that sounds like something you should work on. And if you have better arguments against Islam, you should definitely start talking about them. But I think
that's what I was trying to just say an alternative, essentially. I was trying to share an alternative perspective, essentially, like saying, look, fine. I think like this is how I would have done it, and if you don't want to, if you at the end of the day, Ethan, if you don't like that approach, like that's fine.
I know ways that have worked for me in the past as far as this argument. I'm probably going to stick to those, but I will keep your thoughts in mind. But I think we've kind of reached the end of the call for me, unless you have anything different.
Oh yeah, and also one other thing is, look, I don't want chat to hate me because like people think I'm irrational, have like main character syndrome.
Chat's going to be whatever chat is.
Yeah, I think you should go to chat. I've been ruminating over this like 3 days. Yeah.
Okay, if you want to go to chat, go talk to chat.
So, like, I don't know, but like I'm just not in a good state right now. Sorry. But one other thing
is normal to be nervous.
It's just that like my life's been going to shit, but like be careful of Wiki Islam as well, because you did like invoke Wiki Islam, and like the co-founder of that is essentially a homophobic, anti-Semitic person that was quoted by the Oslo shooter terrorist, and quoting them would be like quoting the day was stolen for the Judaism. Yeah, because he did invoke Wiki Islam. I just wanted to like point that out as well, and like
I will try to get more Muslim hosts or ex-Muslim hosts that can speak a little bit more eruditely about this. I, having never been a Muslim, am not super educated on all of this and might make some mistakes. But that's part of the game for me. That's part of the job as a host and as someone who is learning and growing. Anyway, I've got to go. This is about the end of this call for me, and we're about the end of the show as well. So I'm going to sign off here, man. Thank you so much.
A couple of questions, because like, sorry. Can you still hear me or not?
Well, tell you what, Nathan. So Forrest has to take a phone call really quick, but tell you what, we're past the 8 o'clock hour Pacific Standard Time. So if you can call back again with those extra 2 questions, that'd be great.
I don't know. I'm just sorry. I came off as a bad person. I don't want to. I really appreciate Forrest.
Nathan, no one here said that or is thinking that. Yeah, not
like
at all.
I have a fan of Forrest from his YouTube channel. I feel like I've made him feel bad or something.
You're fine,
Nathan. I want to be very clear. You didn't make me feel bad. You didn't hurt my feelings. I mean this sincerely. It sounds like I'm being condescending. I'm really not. Take several deep breaths. Everything's okay.
Yeah.
I'm not mad at you. You had a concern. You were a fan watching the show. You are not used to being on air in front of lots and lots of people. It's nerve-wracking. So you're okay.
Yeah, I just don't want people to think I'm a bad person and all that shit.
People are going
to think.
People are going to think whatever they think, but I don't think anybody thinks you're a bad person for having a concern. People are going to like this call. People aren't going to like this call. I guarantee if you look at the comments after this call, you're going to see a wide variety of people who go everywhere from, being grumpy about the call to just genuinely not giving a shit. It is what it is. It's the public. It's what's going to happen. I think you just need to worry about the fact that you had a concern and you brought it up. We addressed it. I appreciate you bringing criticism to me, and I appreciate the chance to work it out. Everything's good. We're good. So take several deep breaths. Don't worry about it. We are now going to end the call and move on to the end of the show, but thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, and also I wish you luck on your trip to Austria. It sounds really fun.
Thank you so much. Have an awesome rest of your day, Nathan.
Bye, Nathan.
Yeah.
Take care.
All right. Yeah, and it's fine. Like, it's fine to disagree, even if at the end of the conversation, if no alignment has been generated and the opinions still differ, as long as the conversation was respectful and factual, it's totally cool. So yeah, Nathan, you're fine, man. No worries about it.
Yeah. I appreciate if somebody has something they want to say to me, I can call in and say it. I don't care.
Yeah.
That's the point. That's the point of the show. That's the entire point. It's all good.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's wrap up here. Oh, wow, they're just kicking us right out. Those hooks just came out and getting pulled out of here. Oh, there goes the music. Okay, cool. No, I was going to say, we have more shows for the rest of the week, folks. This is Sunday, so if you're weird, this is the beginning of your week. For me, this is the end of my week, like us rest as normal people. But coming up, we have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday shows with various folks from Forrest and Justin tomorrow with Skeptalk. Alyssa Lube and Taylor on Tuesday with Chewed Gum, Matt Dillahunty and Joven on The Hang Up on Wednesday, and then TACIS will be on Thursday with Alexander and Ben. And then next weekend, we'll have Austin Archer and Orin Morgan doing the evening show, and then Matt Dillahunty and John Gleason doing the afternoon Sunday show. Thank you so much, folks. Everyone have a good night. I'm going to go find some Mexican food and plant my face into it. Good night.
I just ordered tacos. Hell yeah.